Yes, and hello once again. This is Max Ratt, and welcome to the Max Ratt Deconstruction Zone. Well, it's November 18th, 2014. I'm here live from New York City in the Rat Hole once again. And I got another show for you this morning. I've been working since the last ISIS, my I'm Your Boogeyman show. I've been working on an Ebola show. I did several parts. I did have other parts for the ISIS show, but a couple of my avid listeners requested that I do an Ebola show, and I kind of was interested in it myself. So I've been digging and finding as much as I can on this Ebola nonsense, if you will. I think I'm going to call this show Ebola, a Disease Deception. And I got loads of clips once again. I got a really good show for you, laid out for you. I'm going to go through this whole thing rather than try to explain it all in one sentence. I'm going to, like I always do, let the show rip and go through it all with you. And I guess that's it. Welcome aboard once again, the Max Ratt Deconstruction Zone. I'm Max Ratt. Thanks for listening, and we got a big show for you. It's a long show. It's a very comprehensive, info-packed show on Ebola. And rather than waste any more time dilly-dallying around, let's get the show going. Thanks once again for coming aboard. The Max Ratt Deconstruction Zone. Here we go.
Come on, Robin. To the Batcave. We haven't one moment to lose.
What about Max? What does Max think?
I'm sorry, did you want to hear what I think or just what you want to hear?
Pay attention, son. Look at me when I'm talking to you.
The time has come for America to hear the truth.
Well, how about we tell everyone the truth?
Look, I hate lying to Lois. It's the best way to keep her from knowing the truth.
First rule of politics, kiddo. Never let the truth get in the way of a good story.
You will accomplish this how?
Disinformation. A good story always trumps the truth.
As if by design, health choices are limited, information is scarce, lives are ruined, and the truth be damned.
The future is always planned intricately, including all the wars, and everything else will happen and scare you to death to make sure that the public have plenty of time to be programmed in preparation for it. And you're programmed through various news articles, etc.
We have breaking news, and look, folks, I don't want to panic you. I don't want you to get more agitated than you already are. I want to be calm. I want you to take a deep breath, and I have to confirm that the first Ebola case has been diagnosed in the United States. It was released 10 minutes ago. It's exactly my worst fears.
There will be more cases among the people who treated him, the more than 70 people who treated him under those circumstances. And I say there will likely be more, not to try to be scary. It's about trying to be real in a crisis that is ongoing. There will be more cases among the people who treated.
She's what you call a disinformation agent, just spouting bullshit everywhere.
There's a health crisis going on, and it's spreading faster than anyone realizes.
And as our U.S. correspondent Marina Portnaya reports, panic is spreading.
Now, I may be an alarmist, I may be entirely wrong about the whole matter, but I've seen this disease work. And I'm telling you, if it ever gets loose, it can spread over the entire country. And the result will be more horrible than any of you can imagine.
Okay, so the fear-mongering is at a peak. Let's just let this unfold. I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna get to talking more than enough. So let's just keep the show rolling. So you had Michael Savage. He's a very got a large listenership on the daytime radio show. I think it's a national radio show. He will get into. I have a few clips from him, so we'll get into him. But he's he claims to be an epidemiologist. So he took the spearheaded the forefront in this in the talk radio area on the Ebola thing, because he claims to be so knowledgeable about it. He's mainly just a divisive, racist, very distasteful divider who distorts all kinds of information. I've listened to him in the car when I was driving with a friend of mine who's Senegalese, and I used to see my friend's face when he would hear Michael Savage talking, because he says so many very distasteful, very bigoted, racist, anti-Muslim, anti-black, anti-everything stuff that it's kind of disconcerting to say the least. But he's out there and everybody's listening to him, and sometimes he'll say a couple of things that are sort of funny, but take it for whatever it's worth. But he's got a very his I don't know if you want to call it charismatic, but he's got a very distinct style that people seem to be attracted to. Keep it moving from there. He claims to be a conservative. I would argue that nothing could be further from the truth. Let's keep going.
Now, I may be an alarmist. I may be entirely wrong about the whole matter, but I've seen this disease work. And I'm telling you, if it ever gets loose, it can spread over the entire country. And the result will be more horrible than any of you can imagine.
All right. So, in my research on the show, there's so many. There's old classic movies. There's new movies. There's old classic TV shows. There's new TV shows. There's all kinds of different media. There's all kinds of disease and epidemic and virus type information and media out there. It seems it's all, and it all just, as I went through it all just came together. I'm like, oh, okay, I see what they're doing now. So that was a clip from a movie in 1950 something called Panic in the Streets, where they had a virus outbreak, and it's uncanny how this is the same. That's why I'm going to call the show a disease deception, because this is the same formula for throughout time, as far as I can tell. So as far back as the and I'm going to even show you a couple of clips on that, as far back as the Bible with the plagues in the Ten Commandments. So I'm going to keep it going from there. Here's a Star Trek clip.
It's already starting. I knew it would. It'll spread all over you, and you'll yell, and you'll try to hurt everybody, and then you'll die. I knew it would. I knew it would.
That was a Star Trek episode where there was I forgot. There was a girl. It was a name of a girl who there was a virus on the planet that they went to, and it was killing everybody. Exact same formula for all these things.
Another case of Ebola in America.
A new case of Ebola.
A Texas healthcare worker does have Ebola. Shocking hospital officials.
Fears that Ebola could spread.
Now I'm scared again.
The CDC still doesn't know the point of contact.
The big question now is, how did she get it?
How did she get it?
How could she possibly contract Ebola?
Ebola is one of those words that you can say it anywhere in the world, and it invokes fear.
There's a fear, and I really believe we need to have a respectful fear of Ebola.
So I'm just scared. It's a scary feeling.
And needless to say, the media's out there scaring, and you should be scared. You should be scared, telling you what to believe, telling you what to think. Unfortunately, nobody thinks for themselves. Nobody even thinks outside the box. I'm clearly going to get into all that too. Loads of fear mongering in every shape, and then they're going to tell you that the American people overreacted in fear. I'm like, well, when you're cramming the fear mongering down their throats, and that's all they do is mimic and follow everything they're told on TV, then that's what you're going to get from that.
So I'm just.
That's not brain surgery.
Scared. It's a scary feeling.
Out of abundance of caution.
Out of an abundance of caution.
It was out of an abundance of caution.
So we're trying to calm everybody down.
But experts say it's all fueling fear.
Right, out of an abundance of caution, they're fear-mongering. That's the excuse to fear-monger, which is just nonsensical. But at the end, you're like, well, you know, it's resulting in fear. I mean, yeah, of course, that's what... Because, like, you know, we're trying to keep you safe. We're trying to keep you safe. But, you know, you're trying to keep you safe, like you know, like safe from what? Like, just, you know, like, be careful. We're trying to keep you safe. That's fear. That's called fear-mongering, folks.
You're trying to scare me.
Okay, another movie I found was called The Crazies, and there was actually a new version that came out in, like, I think it was maybe 2010 even, or maybe even more recent than that, but I took the clips only from I didn't even watch the new one, I'm not sure why, because I thought the old one was so much cooler. It was a 1973 version, so I found plenty of good stuff in there. I'm going to get into that, too. We're going to keep it going. There's a little good kid saying, you're trying to scare me.
You're trying to scare me.
Dr. Evans. He's a licensed MD. You can trust him. Go see Dr. Evans. He's a licensed MD. You can trust him.
Oh, yeah.
Doctor, I'm scared. Am I going to die?
The greatest social messages are promoted through movies and drama, high drama, through the fixation of emotive sequences, emotional sequences, not logical, factual sequences, but pushing points across in an emotional way which register and fix in the mind. So emotional content is very, very important, rather than going through an actual discussion or an argument using logic and facts. There's no debate. And when you're being downloaded through fiction, your guard is down, the sensor part of your brain is not in action. It isn't saying, yes, I agree with this, I disagree with that, as you would in a debate or a lecture. You're actually in an alpha state, being completely downloaded with new ideas.
There's a guy named Alan Watt who has a lot of good insights into the way your manipulated, your mind control and manipulation stuff works. And I used several clips from him, and he actually has his own radio show in Canada, and he spoke about Ebola a little bit too. I don't believe that clip was from the Ebola show, but he's saying that yeah, and that's very clear. I think it's very self-explanatory. He said that you're not being asked to enter into any type of intelligent discussion or logical debate about anything. You're always like, it's pushing your emotional buttons, like, be scared, be afraid, hurry up, fast, and getting you in a very unsettled state. And then when you do that, you don't think clearly and you react foolishly most of the time. I don't think anybody has any debate with that.
The clowns, the political clowns with medical degrees that they put into the CDD, the Centers for Disease Dissemination, are going to give a speech in about 10 minutes telling you not to panic and not to worry. Well, they are dead wrong.
Yeah, he's like, they're telling you not to panic, not to worry, so you should be panicked and worried. The way that the media set this up is that the righties or the so-called conservative people, like your Fox News people and your savages, and even your more marginalized or fringe Alex Joneses, who claim to be who cater to that, people who you would think who call themselves conservatives. None of these people are conservative by definition, but anyway, so that those people, that side, will take this angle that the of course Obama, and because they like to bash Obama for everything, and as you know, I'm not a Obama defender or supporter, but it has nothing to do with Obama. This is a all-inclusive, clearly all of these people, whether lefty, righty, liberal, Democrat, Republican, conservative, they're all working together, taking their different sides and presenting it to you in different ways, so everybody can find the person that they want to follow and be led in the wrong direction by them. So the Fox News people will give you, and the savages and those that ilk will give you this, the government botched it and they're not keeping you safe from Ebola. So, but at the same time, they're they're propagating the nonsense that there is an Ebola or that it even exists. And yes, I'm going to start that right away. And if you're like, oh, Max, you always say these things don't exist. I'm sorry, folks, but you have to start understanding how these things work. There is nobody gives any evidence of anything except for what they're telling you on TV by a bunch of liars who are proven liars on every issue. And so you have to look past that, and you have to get look past all these fear. They're telling you should be scared so fast that you're not even really paying attention to exactly what is Ebola and what the hell, how could and none of the scientifically none of the what they tell you makes sense. Viruses don't have racial preferences or blood is the same in a black guy as it is in a white guy or a Chinese guy or a Indian guy or whoever. So I don't know why. We're going to get into that, but it's the racial way they structure these things to divide people on race and on political ideology and all these things is so disgusting that it kind of makes me sick. But we're going to keep that going. Keep going from there.
So I think CDC should take a backseat on this one?
I agree.
Do you?
Absolutely, I do.
How often do you touch your face?
What?
In a day. How often?
I don't know. Once an hour?
Every 3 minutes. You have mouth-hand contact every 5 minutes. You touch somebody else every 20 minutes. That's how contagion works.
You don't like terrorists? Try negotiating with a virus.
Okay, so that's a show called The Strain, which is a new show. I think it's on, you know what, I'm not really sure. One of those cable AMC or I don't think it's Showtime. One of those cable show channels, and it's a drama about literally about a virus. The whole show is about that. It's they got they did a whole season of episodes. And so in that episode, so the CDC guy is in New York, and he's and you just heard Savage disparage the CDC guy. So this is like trying to try to get you to make you think that CDC is some sort of reputable or even legitimate organization when all they are is henchmen or complicit liars for a larger group of liars who are deceiving you on every which way you can turn. Once again, we'll keep it going from there. So on The Strain, so he said, so he's going to try to say they're going to this. So they're going to they show up at a scene where somebody died from the virus, and the cops or something are saying, I think the CDC should take a back seat in this. And the guy's saying, he's like, do you know how everything's tied into viruses? When you touch your face, you're passing viruses along. So they're going to get you into to that framework to make you think that you need the CDC so bad. Keep it moving from there.
The average person touches their face 2,000 or 3,000 times a day.
2,000 or 3,000 times a day?
3 to 5 times every waking minute. In between, we're touching doorknobs, water fountains, elevator buttons, and each other.
Okay, so that was planting that as some predictive program. You're just planting the ideas in your head from a movie called Contagion, where where you're all you're doing, your function in the universe is to pass disease along. And once again, I'm going to continue. Let's keep it going. You're going to see how I lay it out for you.
The average person touches their face 2,000 or 3,000 times a day.
That one already?
That was a body controlled by virus. This is what we do. The people of New York rely on us to investigate and eliminate threats to their health.
Okay, that was The Strain again, and he's a CDC guy, and he said the people in New York are relying on us to investigate disease and eliminate it for them. Again, we'll
the ideas, the thoughts, and the opinions of the masses are being manipulated through fear.
Now remember, this creature feeds on your fear.
Yeah, that was Chief Wiggum from The Simpsons.
We have to be guided by the science. We have to be guided by the facts, not fear.
Nice man, that kid, just a little on the dumb side.
Ebola is aggressive.
That was Foghorn Leghorn, by the way, and I found a compilation of Foghorn Leghorn from the Looney Tunes. He's the rooster with the I would call it the Deep South accent, maybe even like in Louisiana, Mississippi type accent. He's I just found some. That was kind of fun because if I found some funny clips from him, you're going to hear them throughout the show. Anyway, there's obvious fear mongering, and that's how you manipulate people through fear. Keep it going.
Ebola is aggressive hemorrhagic fever syndrome. Ebola in particular causes the walls of the capillaries to slightly separate and blood starts leaking. You'll get conjunctival injection, which is bleeding into the eye. That petechial hemorrhage and that leakage ultimately leads to shock and death.
Oh, Christ, Sam, I opened this guy up. Looked like a bomb went off inside. His pancreas, liver, kidney, spleen, all the organs were liquefied.
Okay, so now in the movie Outbreak, which was a very blockbuster movie with Dustin Hoffman. It's about Ebola, and that came out several years past. A while ago. I don't remember the date, frankly. You can check that yourself. So they're going to tell you that a virus liquefies your organs, and I'm sorry, folks, but that's already. Why anybody would believe that? There is no evidence that any virus ever, or anything, except unless you drink some sort of sulfuric acid or something like that. Maybe that would even, I don't even know if that would necessarily might burn your insides. But liquefying your organs because of a viral reaction of any sort, I believe, you can say, well, Max, you're not a doctor. I don't give a fuck, okay? I believe that's a crock of nonsense, okay? And that's what they're going to tell you in these shows. And why anybody would believe that, and this is being presented to you as nonfiction in a way, like some sort of a, well, you just heard, that was Vice News. There's a guy, the Vice News doctor was saying more or less the same thing. I'm going to play both those clips again, and we got another one after that from Breaking Bad, which was a predictive program from 2010, where they're going to talk about the same thing. Keep it going.
Ebola is aggressive hemorrhagic fever syndrome. Ebola in particular causes the walls of the capillaries to slightly separate and blood starts leaking. You'll get conjunctival injection, which is bleeding into the eye. That petechial hemorrhage and that leakage ultimately leads to shock and death.
Conjunctival, petechial, you have to look, although conjunctival is relevant to your eye. All of that stuff is just, they try to use words that most people aren't terribly familiar with, including myself. I looked them up though, and just so you'll be blinded by the science and not really know what's going on, and then you're gonna have to take their lying word for it.
Oh, Christ, Sam, I opened this guy up. Looked like a bomb went off inside. His pancreas, liver, kidney, spleen, all the organs were liquefied.
Yeah, right.
Dude, you scared the shit out of me. When we say it's contamination, I'm thinking like an Ebola leak or something.
Ebola?
Yeah, it's a disease on the Discovery Channel where all your intestines sort of just slip right out of your butt.
Thank you. I know what Ebola is.
Uh-huh.
Now tell me, what would a West African virus be doing in our lab?
Okay, that's on Breaking Bad, a very popular show. I've watched that show before, and it's so ridiculous. I don't know how anybody could even stomach it or sit through it, but people love that show. I'm not going to go into that. Don't ask me why. That show's nonsensical to me and just so ridiculous. But anyway, so on that show in 2010, they had a fly in their laboratory where they're making meth or something like that, and then the kid says, again, you're going the same line as Ebola liquefies your organs or liquefies your intestines, as this kid said, and then the guy doesn't say, he's supposedly a scientist, doesn't say, what are you talking about? He says, yeah, I know that. Okay, so he reinforces the whole Ebola stupid myth, and then he says it's and then he says, yeah, I know it's a West African, so he puts that into your head too. That's predictive programming. So then when you see it again on the news, you're going to be like, oh, I know what that is already. And when you don't, because what you think you know is just a contrived crock of nonsense.
And you listen to him?
Yeah, I believe everything everyone tells me anywhere.
We still don't know what we're fighting.
No, but we know what it is and how fast it does it. It's progressing. We'll begin to feel it inside soon. Intense fever, great pain in the extremities, fuzziness of vision. Of course, those are the early symptoms. There'll be more.
Star Trek.
My next guest wrote a prophetic book on Ebola way back in 1987. Robin Cook's best-selling thriller, Outbreak, is a fictional version of an Ebola outbreak in America.
That was fiction.
Yeah, that's the thing. You know, they tell you it's fiction, okay? But why? So why? And that was what the movie Outbreak was based on. But it's a fiction. It's fiction, folks. This is so. Then now they apply it in a reality format like the news, and you're going to believe what you were told is fiction, as the way things really work, which is not. It's nobody's even representing that it's true. Okay, that's the funny part about that. But people overlook that stuff. They tell you right to your face on CNN or whatever that was, and you still overlook it because you're so well wanting to go jump on the idiocracy bandwagon. I guess it's where it's at, and I'm sorry, folks, but this is ridiculous, and I can't even go into like when I figure I'll ask a couple of people like when I'm out and about what they think of Ebola, and if I wouldn't even have the time to go into the insane answers from people seemingly coherent would say some of the most insane things. I'm like, I don't even know where you got that from, but because they're so disinformed and so misled and misinformed that through everything they do and see, that they have no clue what's going on at all. And certainly not even near the place that I'm at after having investigated this stuff and researched it pretty thoroughly, I would say. Keep it going.
In a remote African jungle, a small monkey is captured. The animal carries a deadly virus.
Okay, that's got racial, I think, clear racial undertones there. So you're getting Ebola from monkeys. And of course, they told us that AIDS was from monkeys too, and and monkeys are in Africa, and then you're going to relate that to black people in general, and you can see where that goes with there, and it does go there because that's where everybody's bought into it. Even black people in America or all over buy into it too, and I don't know what anybody's thinking because nobody's thinking at all. They're all just watching TV and swallowing stuff that they're told is fiction, and they still don't want to listen to any reason. They just want to believe it. They want to believe it's fact when they're told it's fiction. Keep it going. That was the trailer from Outbreak. The monkey. It's a monkey virus again.
In a remote African jungle, a small monkey is captured. The animal carries a deadly virus.
And keep in mind, once again, they just told you on CNN that the book is fiction. They didn't say based on anything. It said fiction, clearly.
People accept the phony for the real.
That was Mae, the legendary Mae Brussels. She said people accept the phony for the real. They don't accept, they insist upon it. They accept the phony for the real. I'll play that one for you again.
People accept the phony for the real.
There you go.
In a place where humans and monkeys are in such close proximity, a new virus could emerge that's even more lethal. Some human somewhere, likely here in Africa, is going to eat a monkey with a disease that's never been seen before. Super Ebola, a new strain of AIDS. And according to Joseph, that virus could kill 1/3 of the planet's population.
There's some insanity for you. That's Vice News, and everybody. And you know, I notice a lot of young people like, "Oh, Max, you don't like Vice News?" I'm like, that's beyond nonsensical. It's just ridiculous garbage. And no, I don't believe. I can't even. I just did it. I just clipped it for the show. But this stuff's for absolute morons. So anyway, so he didn't take it further. It's not bad enough that they create a fake disease from eating monkeys, but then they're like, you know what? Now it's gonna turn into Super Ebola or Super AIDS and kill 1 out of 3 people on Earth from from one guy eating a monkey. When none of that makes any dang sense at all, and I don't even know where to begin with that. Again, you're basing nonsense on nonsense on nonsense, and you're at a place where none of it has any logical coherence whatsoever. Okay, I don't know. There's no evidence you can get a virus from eating anything. You might get sick from it, but not because you're eating poison or something that's got some very not good for you types of bacteria or whatever. But that's not the same. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about something that's like taking over people and liquefying their organs and super AIDS and killing 1 out of 3 people on Earth from eating a monkey. Well, none of it's all ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Keep it going.
But we all know it is currently an untreatable disease. It can only be managed.
That's for the big pharma people because like can't cure it. He meant incurable disease. It can only be managed. Yeah, that's they manage it according to your bank account. And, it can only be used to fleece you is what he should have said.
It's growing.
Okay, another movie that I found was called The Andromeda Strain. It's another 70s kind of trippy movie about an alien virus, if you will. Lots of very ridiculous stuff in there, but again, they're presenting it as fantasy, but then people interpret it, accept it as the phony for the real, for whatever reason.
Some people get the flu and have a sniffle, some die.
That was from The Strain. That's nice. Yeah, so they're trying, some people, it's a lot of people, some people die from the flu. I never heard of anybody dying from the flu ever, okay? Ever in my life. And I'm getting old these days.
We're not dealing with a flu virus here. We're dealing with an often lethal, always debilitating, encephalitic mutation.
Whatever that means, that was from the movie The Crazies. We're not dealing with the flu, we're dealing with an encephalitic mutation.
Science!
Okay, yeah, that's science for you.
Ebola disease is a very dangerous disease that kills in a matter of days.
Okay, that was from the Nollywood, that's Nigerian Hollywood, and they had 2 movies just called the Ebola movie or something like that, and all that was to scare and misinform and misdirect Nigerian people who I'm sure are watching that and believing that garbage as well.
There is a different illness unique to the United States that everyone should be very concerned about.
And what's that?
Fearbola.
Fearbola?
Yes, that is the irrational fear of catching Ebola.
Okay, how do you contract it?
Well, just simply by watching cable news. Just 5 minutes of exposure to CNN or Fox News and you might have Fearbola.
Okay, so...
There you go.
Again, I'm not doing this to frighten you, to alarm you, to sell you a book. I'm as sober as a priest right now, as a priest should be. I'm as sober as a pallbearer, as a man should be. I'm as sober as an epidemiologist who went into talk radio to try and enlighten the American people in some decent manner. I'm as sober as I can possibly be, giving you the worst news of my entire life.
Worst news of his entire life. Yeah. You can see how insane he is, but he got millions of listeners. I got 200-300 views on my my YouTube. This guy's got millions of listeners, talking absolute garbage constantly, and very distasteful, racist, and not beyond distasteful, just very disgusting, racist, and divisive in all angles he can think of, and he packages it in this fatherly or intellectual, like pseudo-intellectual way that why anybody wouldn't toss that stuff in the garbage, I don't know, but he's beyond they're not tossing the garbage. He's got like 10 million listeners a day.
They're lying to us again, Larry. Come on, you're a Princeton graduate. You should know how they do it.
If an ISIS terrorist could get to Canada, could he hire a boat? Could he bring poison or even the Ebola virus? Could he get across Lake Erie and into the United States?
Okay, so they're telling you, here we go with that. I'm going to show you two brief clips where they're going to tell you that ISIS is going to bring, they're now an ISIS terrorist is going to find a way to contract Ebola himself and then bring it to America, maybe across the Canadian border, and infect Americans with a fake disease and from ISIS, which is also fake. Again, this is where we're at, okay? Like absolute morons with this stuff, and it's kind of pathetic, but I'm going to put it all out for you, and if you don't, you probably don't know the people who are so moronic to believe this stuff probably don't have the attention span for more than 2 minutes on my show anyway, so they'll continue on in that regard. So ISIS is bringing Ebola as a terrorist plan.
I think we're about a month away from news stories breaking, and I may have mentioned how I know this, but let me just say that I think we're about a month away from beginning to hear Europeans and Americans who supposedly have gone fighting for ISIS coming back to, in essence, spread Ebola. They will be infected with Ebola.
Okay, that's a guy named Fabian Calvo, and he is a, as far as I know, I mean, he's got a popular YouTube channel where he's interviewed on Mainstream Media, where he talks about the economy, and he's got a real estate background. And now he's an expert. Now he's going to say what he has personal information about ISIS fighters bringing Ebola. Where he got that, and when he's renting condos in California or wherever he lives, or Arizona even, or wherever he's from. And now he's an expert on ISIS fighters bringing us Ebola. So that shows you where he's at. I mean, he's obviously just another shill for the lying. Global government cabal. Moving on.
Here I come, baby. I'm coming to get you.
We're bombarded with mind control news stories continuously because the greatest way to control everyone out there, and they've known this for thousands of years, is to terrify the bejesus out of you, basically.
Now, some people want to criticize the way our administration has handled this crisis. And it's true, we made a few mistakes early on. But I assure you, it was nowhere near as bad as how we handled the ISIS situation. I mean, our various Secret Service mishaps, or the scandals of the IRS and the NSA. And I don't know if you guys remember, but the Obamacare website had some pretty serious problems too. In fact, if you look at all the stuff that's happened my second term, this whole Ebola thing is probably one of my greatest accomplishments.
That was from Saturday Night Live again.
Nice kid, but a little dumb.
America, in the end, is not defined.
That was Foghorn Leghorn, by the way. Told you I was going to have some clips from him.
America, in the end, is not defined by fear. That's not who we are.
Not who we are.
America is defined by possibility, and when we see a problem and we see a challenge, then we fix it. We don't just react based on our fears. We react based on facts and judgment. And we're going to keep on making progress, and we are going to solve this particular problem just like we've solved every other problem.
You're lying again.
Become a master of lying and conniving. You have become a master of lying and conniving.
They all lie. They all make promises they don't intend to keep and, in fact, do not keep. They're all involved in all kinds of scams and swindles.
First rule, I don't believe anything the government...
They're lying to us.
Oh, Ebola is one of...
First rule, I don't believe anything the government tells me. Nothing.
They're lying to us.
Oh, Ebola is one of several viral hemorrhagic fevers. In the field of epidemiology, it is known as a non-vector-borne infectious disease.
That's again some mumbo jumbo. I call that the Ebola definition mumbo jumbo from Michael Savage. Keep going.
People are vectors. They carry it about with them unawares.
In the crazies, he's using they're both using this word vector as a vector, like it's like almost like they're gonna is similar to a carrier, a vector. Again, that's just because that's a word that most people don't use and never haven't or aren't familiar with in their vocabulary, so that's where they use it. So you'll have to take their word for it because he's an expert and you're a stupid slave. Keep it going.
It could be a PAM, primary amoebic meningoencephalitis, a very rare parasitic meningitis.
Yeah, you see, again, just they're using the big words to, that was from the movie The Strain, the TV show The Strain. It's an encephalitic virus, PAM, pimiento, whatever. Whatever. I'll play that one again for you just to show you. and I'm not just you know, if you don't think that I'm just disparaging it because like, oh, I don't understand it either. No, I like whenever I hear these words and when I look, you know, watch these things and try to take a clip, I will go and look up every single word I don't know, and then I'll come to the same conclusion that I pretty much had to begin with anyway, which is, okay, you're right. It didn't make any sense even when I looked it up. Keep it going.
It could be a PAM, primary amoebic meningoencephalitis, a very rare parasitic meningitis.
Einstein said, for the record, if you can't explain it simply, then you don't understand it. Okay, and I'm telling you, I've had that experience in many times in my life, and I'm sorry, but you don't just this whole medical industry revolves around people like, oh, you don't understand that I went to medical school and you didn't. I'm like, listen, I could have went to medical school too, and for 4 years, and I promise you, you did not learn some magic that nobody can ever learn in a stupid, corrupt medical school. Okay, where as far as I could tell, they don't learn anything. Okay, except how to prescribe drugs and kill people, so and exterminate people and depopulate people. I'm going to get into that, but you know, just believe me, there's nothing that I can't read or about or be taught about or understand. Just try me.
Blinded me with science.
I'm done for, aren't I?
We're going to take you to the hospital. We're going to give you antiparasitics. We'll try chemo. We have a lot of tools at our disposal.
Okay, so the guy in the strain, the doctor from the CDC in the strain, the guy's got the virus. That's the strain, which is turns them into zombies. Okay, for in that show, and he says, I'm going to give you chemo for it, for whatever, like chemo is some sort of magic cure all, and it's again, evidence suggests all it does is kill it's exactly the opposite. It never cured anybody, and it kills people. And then I found, speaking of chemo, I found this in Brave New World.
We remain at the prime metabolic age of 35 to ensure a maximum level of useful consumption until painless death from chemostimulation.
Okay, so they're telling you in Brave New World that they use chemo to kill people off of painless death from chemostimulation. Play that one for you again in case you missed it. Moving on. So the guy from the strain saying he's just going to use chemo to fight Ebola more, or their mystery virus that turns you into a zombie, and then on Brave New World, the guy says that we actually use chemo to kill people off when they're no longer useful, which I would argue is actually the truth.
We remain at the prime metabolic age of 35 to ensure a maximum level of useful consumption until painless death from chemostimulation.
Shut up already. It's science.
That's Dr. Kiki. She's a doctor on TV on one of the news channels, and she's like, that's really scientific. She's like, shut up and just in science.
The virus is spreading much faster than efforts to contain it.
I call that Dr. Psycho from NBC, Dr. Schneiderman. She's an absolute psycho. Okay, moving on.
Such incredible news today. It's worldwide news from probably thousands of stations, if you add them all up, radio and television and so on, across the whole planet. They're all getting the same information at the same time, and it's easy to keep everyone in step with each other as we're programmed to accept all this nonsense that we're hit with steadily and steadily.
They've been conditioned to like anything that's shown them.
Ebola is what we would call a hear-borne virus. All you have to do to catch it is hear about it.
The master excels at manipulation and disinformation.
Aldous Huxley said on, I think it was a Mike Wallace interview many, many moons ago, that the people could be trained to basically into a system by a scientific elite where they'd accept things that perhaps they shouldn't accept.
Aldous Huxley's a writer of Brave New World, and then here's a clip from Brave New World along the same lines, a scientific elite.
It wasn't until the world was unified under a rational, scientifically enlightened government that real progress could occur.
Each of us is genetically designed to fit perfectly into our place in society.
Another clip from Brave New World.
Science!
I need tweezers, lighter, and where's that hydrogen peroxide?
Doctor, a word, please.
I need paper towels, gloves, and a knife.
And then some ball bearings and WD-40 and a paperclip and a rubber band. You know, it'll be like MacGyver meets that's that show The Strain again. That guy's a doctor. He's like he's doing a on the spot surgery to remove the Ebola from, or the zombie virus from his friend or something like that. It's just insane. And again, people confuse this with the phony with the real.
Beam down a biocomputer and a portable electronic microscope. If I'm going to be dealing with viruses, I'm going to need better equipment than I have here. Yes, Doctor.
Okay, that was from Star Trek. That was Bones, the doctor, and he's implying that there is equipment to that may put him in a position to even deal with a virus that doesn't exist, or if it even I don't even know if I believe any of the whole science around this whole virus thing, because again, and you're like, oh, Max, now you're going crazy. No, I'm going to show you. Well, the next clip is well, here we go.
You're dumb if you ask for a degree of certainty.
You're a fraud, and you're the most obvious fraud I've ever seen.
Okay, so Dr. James Watson, who is lauded as the foremost molecular biologist in the world, he won a Nobel Prize for discovering DNA, or the double helix, or whatever garbage that is that they made up. That there's no, I can't see any, and I don't see any lucid or logical scientific data. It's just nonsense, and this guy won a Nobel Prize for it. And he says, and I'm going to show you clip after clip after clip where he says the most ridiculous, absurd things. And this guy is not just anybody; he's the top dog in the whole field of molecular biology. And I'm sorry, but if that's the guy who is telling you, bringing us Ebola and all these other things, then you need to throw this all in the garbage, which is exactly what I'm trying to tell you. This is just one more. I'm going to give you several clips from him, Dr. James Watson, in his own words.
You're dumb if you ask for a degree of certainty.
Okay, so you're dumb if you ask for a degree of certainty. So if I'm saying, "Are you sure this is real?" He's like, "No, that would be dumb to ask that." I don't know. That's disturbing to me, and it should be to you too if you have two brain cells to rub together. That's a top guy, Nobel Prize laureate in molecular biology, Dr. James Watson. Look him up. Just look him up, okay? He's lauded as the top dog in the whole thing. He's an absolute jackass, and he has no credibility whatsoever, in my point of view.
You're a fraud, and you're the most obvious fraud I've ever seen.
There's been a lot of confusion about gluten lately. People saying that gluten is the cause of cancer, gluten should be avoided, gluten can make your dick fly off, but let's set the record straight.
Make your dick fly off?
Gluten.
And God smote the land with all manner of plagues.
Okay, so in the Ten Commandments, and again, this is something that's been throughout time, where let's face it, whatever your beliefs are religiously or spiritually, I certainly never. I believe there's many wonderful things that people get from their faith and from their beliefs in that regard. However, there are many I don't think anybody would disagree that quite often the scriptures and all religions are misinterpreted into ways to manipulate the masses. And in Ten Commandments, so they're using these hoaxes because they derive them from things that they know people have ingrained into them, such as religious beliefs. And so in the Ten Commandments, so in the Bible, they talk about plagues. So that's the tie-in to this Ebola thing as well. Keep it going. Hope I explained that okay.
And God smote the land with all manner of plagues.
We got to do something. We can't let that plague get loose.
It's too late, sinner. Pestilence
pestilence is already upon you. Its evil vapors are everywhere, malignant, unseen.
Okay, so in Gunsmoke, they're talking about a plague, and the religious clergyman in the show is calling the guy a sinner and saying it's too late. The pestilence is already upon you. Again, they're tying in these disease deceptions to what's ingrained into people as it is in their religious beliefs, and distorting them to their benefit.
The people have been plagued by thirst. They've been plagued by frogs, by lice, by flies, by sickness, by boils. They can endure no more.
That's from the Ten Commandments. Again, the plagues.
Only a miracle can save us.
Miracle!
Miracle! Miracle! Miracle! We've got to get to that wagon.
That's from History of the World. That's Miracle. That was Miracle from with Mel Brooks. Again, the miracle was a horse that saved them in the end.
Rats! And they might be carrying plague.
Oh, now they got rats carrying plague. Here we go.
They died. But that was after the awful things.
A plague, Captain. That could explain a lot of it.
The Doc in Star Trek, he's like a plague captain that could explain a lot of it. Sure could.
Maybe you ain't never seen the plague so as to be scared of it. Well, I have. Let me tell you something. I've seen the toughest kind of men laying flat on their backs with their blood boiling out their skin. They was choking and crying like babies, hoping to die.
Okay, their blood boiling out of their skin, which is an old show called from Gunsmoke. Well, that was their plague, and now the new plague is your blood. Again, they're describing the same exact thing. Again, these are tried, true, and tested fear-mongering devices and narratives that have stood the test of time. And if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And they just keep running them at you constantly with new spins, like a little bit more contemporary spin on it. And that's all they need, and to get you right back into your fear-mongered, insanity, chaotic state, and then you could rob you and manipulate you and kill you and inject you with poison and maim your children and all those nice things that these criminal, murdering devil people do.
All right, listen, everybody, we need your help. We're doctors from the Centers for Disease Control. There's a plague that's spreading through New York City.
Keep New York City out of it, pal.
Great danger in doing science is you want something to be really proven. And, you want it 99% certain. Whereas, in fact, generally, you never get that degree of certainty. And, if it looks like 80%, you might as well assume it's solid.
Okay, that's your Dr. Watson again. And I don't know if you heard that one, but there is a system called scientific method where you can evaluate, you can prove something 100%. Absolutely, not even. He's like he keeps saying 99%. That's not even the case. You should be able to prove something outright, and only that. Okay, if you didn't prove it outright, then it's not proven. Then it's just a theory. And he's like, no. He's like, you know what? If it's 80%, that's good enough for me. That's solid enough. He says that shows you what a fraud, liar this guy is, and a clown, and why. And again, folks, he's hailed as the top guy. So if everybody else is below him, then and he's an absolute jackass clown, then none of this stuff could be taken seriously at all, and it shouldn't be. And I'll tell you what, there is no evidence. Like I just said, I'm going to the top dog, and he doesn't have any evidence except for we don't have any evidence. You don't need any evidence. He's like, I don't prove any. He said, I don't prove anything. And then he says, I don't. And he said, most people think you need to prove it. He said, I don't even need to prove it. I'll just make it up, and then you can believe me. And you know what? If you're going to listen to him, then then why not?
Great danger in doing science is you want something to be really proven. And, you want it 99% certain.
That's a danger, he said. This clown.
Great danger in doing science is you want something to be really proven. And, you want it 99% certain. Whereas, in fact, generally, you never get that degree of certainty. And, you know, if it looks like 80%, you might as well assume it's solid.
Yeah, you might as well. What a clown, okay? And that's not science. That's garbage nonsense. And how this guy could be awarded? Well, they seem to give out Nobel Prize for any idiot who goes along with their lying garbage. So I guess that's par for the course. Keep moving on.
Medical schools conduct a virtual hazing process they call professional training. After prolonged, intense studies and life and health jeopardizing clinical exposures, medical residents are deprived of sleep, sometimes for days. This form of high-stress, trauma-based education is completely consistent with standardized techniques used in mind control and cult indoctrination programs. This is commonly called brainwashing, but it is really a subtle form of hypnosis that relies on fear and trauma to capture and control your attention and shape your behavior.
Okay, and this guy's
the
saying...
end result is you get a heavily trained, egocentric professional that earnestly believes they are operating for the public's greatest good and arrogantly defends their actions based on the limited and limiting science that they have learned.
Right, and this guy's saying that doctors haven't even learned anything except for a mind control brainwashing regimen that turns them into a knee-jerk trigger robot that who works for Big Pharma and the murderous world government depopulation criminals. I'm a firm believer, and that's what's going on right now. And I wouldn't trust these doctors as far as I could throw a piano. I mean, they inject little children with vaccines all day long, every day, every single child, and all it does is maim and kill and hurt people, injure people tragically, and yet that's a not only common practice, but that's pushed out like nothing else, and it's just bizarre that so many people bought into it, even after all the tragedies that we've seen in front of our own eyes, including people, I know many people personally, and I'm sure everybody else does too, yet we continue to believe it because some jerk-off doctor who's been mind-controlled and brainwashed and doesn't even know shit about any type of science or medicine whatsoever, as far as I could tell, or nutrition, or all they know how to do is give you poison drugs that are manufactured by criminals, and so they're criminal apparatchiks, and that's where we're at. And then and now we got Ebola, and we got a bunch of clowns telling us to be worried about that too. This is ridiculous. Keep it going. As you can see, I'm not into this. I mean, I'm into the show, but I'm very just. I just can't believe that this come to this. Keep it going.
I think he can continue to be considered for an upper management post, don't you?
Yes, but I can't help finding him just a little...
Pompous.
Yes.
Self-serving.
Yes.
You see, solid managerial potential.
Right, so if you're pompous, self-serving, and brainwashed and regimented, like these doctors are, you're managing. You're serving the system beautifully, and that's what and that was from Brave New World again. Moving on.
Do you know any buildings where the doctors used to work?
Yes, I know that. Them and their pills and things.
Will you take me there?
That's a bad place.
Star Trek.
Don't call the doctor. Don't call the mama. Don't call the preacher. No, I don't need it.
Diana Ross.
If it's the plague, bad's an understatement. You know, it almost wiped out the entire city of London in the 14th century. And the worst thing is nobody knows what caused it.
Okay, now here's another couple of clips that I found that are along these same lines where they're the examples they use of like, well, we've seen this plague before, we've seen Ebola before, and then the Doc on Gun Show was like, yeah, we saw it in the 14th century. I'm like, come on, man, that's not you can say like, I heard that happened 400 years ago. Are you kidding me? Or 500 years ago? Are you kidding me? That's not any evidence, and that's not anything to do with anything intelligent or logical either. Okay, what about you can't give me a better example than something that happened. I heard it happened 500 years ago, and there's even documentation of anything like that. Come on.
Let's look at this disease itself. Ebola is one of the various viral hemorrhagic fevers, and there have been notable outbreaks of hemorrhagic fever in history. In Mexico, in 1545, there was an outbreak.
Okay, notable outbreaks of hemorrhagic viral fever, and then he says it's so notable that he's going to note something that happened in 1545 in Mexico. Like that's a notable hemorrhagic fever. What some guy wrote in 1545 on like some papyrus or something about his diagnosis of viral hemorrhagic fever in Mexico. Okay, are you kidding? You see, that's insane. Okay, and that should show you that these people are talking nonsense. Okay, come on now. That's just irresponsible and just absolutely ridiculous and stupid. And but people are listening to this and buying into it and telling me like, oh, I can't believe you don't believe this garbage. I'm like, I can't believe I can't believe you could pay your rent. You don't even know how you can't think anything through, even in the smallest fractional regard. All right, guys, I'm going to keep it going.
Let's look at this disease itself. Ebola is one of the various viral hemorrhagic fevers, and there have been notable outbreaks of hemorrhagic fever in history. In Mexico, in 1545, there was an outbreak that wiped out a great part of the population. Then there was the great yellow fever epidemic of 1793 in Philadelphia, another type of hemorrhagic fever, yellow fever, in which nearly 10% of the population of 50,000 succumbed to the disease.
Yeah, okay, thanks. That's his examples. Stupid.
And upsetting as it can be to hear the details about how viral hemorrhagic fever syndrome manifests in humans.
Again, listen to these people, folks. Come on. Viral hemorrhagic fever syndrome manifesting itself. Whatever. This is so, and people are like, oh, Max, you're not a doctor. I'm like, I don't care, folks. Okay, this is nonsense.
Once we are in a situation where viral hemorrhagic fever syndromes are being transmitted among humans in this country, it is better to know than to not know. It's better to, it's not too hard to understand. It can be too unpleasant to understand, but everybody can understand it. And it is better to know than to not know.
Yeah, I understand it.
Yeah, she's full of crap.
Exactly. That's what I understand.
It is better to know than to not know. It's better to, it's not too hard to understand. It can be too unpleasant to understand, but everybody can understand it. And it is better to know than to not know.
There are known knowns. There are things we know we know. We also know there are known unknowns. That is to say, we know there are some things we do not know. But there are also unknown unknowns. The ones we don't know, we don't know.
Yeah, that's all double talk, and that's why they're all laughing.
This virus annihilated the entire adult population in a very short period.
Spock.
The number of Ebola cases worldwide is now believed to be more than 10,000. But health officials have predicted we could be seeing 10,000 new cases a week by December.
We believe now that that's poppycock.
There's something going on around here that just don't add up.
That's my man Foghorn Leghorn.
There is no hope for those who are infected. You must understand this.
This stuff will make your dick fly off!
And of course, entertainment at the top was in a big fashion as well. Because most of your programming, if you're not getting it from what you think is the news, is coming through entertainment. And in entertainment, your guard is down. It doesn't occur to you to keep your firewall up, basically, and your mind. And you're penetrated so easily by a whole bunch of scenes that will be where you identify with the hero or heroine, depends on a whole bunch of factors, especially these days, and then they bring you into the political correctness, how your attitude on this or that or whatever it should be altered to conform with the so-called good guy in the movie, and that's how easy it's all done.
I'm Dr. Kill Patient
from the Board of Health. Where's the contaminated rabbit at?
Oh, I'm greatly gratified to see you, Doctor.
Okay, where's he at?
He's right in here someplace.
Why, what's the matter, Fudd?
Spots! I see spots before my eyes.
Spots? That's bad. Spots, First symptom of rabbititis. Hey, wait a minute. Look, the people out there in the audience. The lady there with the long ears. They're getting longer all the time. And the guy back there in the 17th row with a cute tomato. He's getting all fuzzy. Yeah, they've got it. Everybody out there's got rabbititis.
Just a little bit of human-to-human transmission, but no human-to-human-to-human sustained transmission.
Psychopaths at the top think you're stupid.
Ebola strain. Ebola strains. Ebola strains.
The Ebola strain.
Ebola strain. Ebola strain. What causes Ebola?
Growing Ebola fear spreads around the country.
There are fears the outbreak will continue to spread.
Americans panicked over a possible Ebola outbreak.
Fear and panic over a possible Ebola outbreak. Ebola outbreak. Growing fears about Ebola.
Tested for Ebola.
Tested for Ebola. Tested for Ebola. Tested for Ebola.
She's got the jack. She's got the jack. She's got the jack.
Ebola.
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 Ebola. Ebola.
Ebola. Ebola. Ebola.
Ebola.
Ebola.
Ebola. Ebola. Ebola. Ebola. Ebola.
Ebola. Ebola. Ebola.
Ebola.
Ebola.
Ebola. Ebola.
Ebola. Ebola. Ebola.
Ebola.
Be quiet. Do not touch her. She's corrupted.
I hate purity. I hate goodness. I don't want virtue to exist anywhere. I want everyone corrupt.
Well, I ought to suit you then. I'm corrupt to the core.
Oh my God! They're trying to corrupt our children!
I'll get you, my pretty, and your little dog, too.
Pandemic looks like. It initially goes quite slowly. You get 2 or 3 discrete locations. Then there'll be secondary outbreaks. And the disease will spread from country to country so fast that you won't know what hit you. Within 3 weeks, it will be everywhere in the world.
You are full of crap.
Yeah, and this guy, believe it or not, this is to show you how stupid they think you are, and yes, Alan Watt was right that psychopaths at the top think you are absolutely, you think you are an idiot, okay? And anyways, well,
psychopaths at the top think you're stupid.
So on that show TED Talk, which is every single TED Talk I've ever seen is just more absurd than the next. They have a guy, his name is Dr. Larry Brilliant. They have the nerve to tell you his name is Larry Brilliant. He's Dr. Brilliant, isn't he? Isn't that nice, okay? Dr. Brilliant. And he's going to tell you that the pandemic's everywhere in 3 weeks. Everyone in the world's going to have it. Keep from there. That's Dr. Larry Brilliant from TED Talk. You can look it up yourself. He is a clown again. He's Dr. Brilliant. He's not quite as brilliant as Dr. Watson, who's the top dog in the whole thing, who says nothing needs to be proven and I don't even bother. That's a Nobel Prize winner, and then like Dr. Brilliant himself is like, well, everybody's going to get it in 3 weeks.
What a pandemic looks like. It initially goes quite slowly. You get 2 or 3 discrete locations. Then there'll be secondary outbreaks. And the disease will spread from country to country so fast that you won't know what hit you. Within 3 weeks, it will be everywhere in the world.
And he said start slowly, and then in 3 weeks it'll be everywhere in the world, and you won't know what hit you. How slow? What do you mean start slowly? Like in the first few hours, it doesn't spread to everywhere in the world? again, that's Dr. Larry Brilliant. He is a clown.
You are full of crap.
But they got the little walkie-talkie microphone on him on TED Talk, and he's talking to everybody, and everybody in the audience is like laughing and cheer and clapping for every word out of his mouth. All he does is tell them a bunch of garbage. I don't even know. I can't even believe what's wrong with people. Again, I mean, I'm not going to complain about my how that I don't get enough listeners, but people listening to these people, and I can't believe how far away the any logical, cohesive discussion is from that. And I guess that's what people would prefer. Maybe even like take their time to go to some studio somewhere and like sit in the audience to watch these clowns. That's insane to me. I mean, you know, you're better off watching some stupid mindless show on TV. I mean, you're going to go take your time and go to a mindless, insane, absurd propaganda from Dr. Larry Brilliant? Are you kidding me? Keep it going.
How can I make you believe that?
Believe it? Why shouldn't I believe you, Doctor? You're a smart fellow, a college man. You probably wouldn't make something out of nothing just to be important.
No, of course, nobody would do that. That was from Panic in the Streets, where the cop is like, he's like, you don't believe me? He's like, nah, I'm watching it. Well, you wouldn't make that up just because you're trying to sound important. No, of course not.
What about power bars? Power bars?
Yes!
Hamburger helper?
That's all gluten!
Oh, there's hot dog buns in that cupboard, Sharon.
Hey, Dad, I need to talk to you about this party we're having.
Oh, my God, the wheat thins!
And the Triscuits, too, Randy!
Wait, I might need those.
This stuff will make your dick fly off, Stan!
Don't forget the freezer!
Oh, God! Chicken nuggets, breaded, frozen burritos, flour, ice cream. What about ice cream?
I don't know! Look at the ingredients!
Heavy cream, sugar, chocolate syrup. No, ice cream's good for you.
Yeah, they're having a gluten scare in South Park. He's like, oh no, the wheat thins. I'm sorry, but that's not as far from the truth as you might think.
So over and over again, you'll find that reason is lost. They don't want people to reason through things. They want you to be emotionally involved in something. Always.
Always. Here's your guy, Dr. Watson, again. Another brilliant clip from him.
Gentlemen, we were just talking to outside.
Actually, that's not him. This is Vice News. He's coming next. Let's listen. Vice News.
Gentlemen, we were just talking to outside who's been waiting out there for 2 hours. He's clearly very sick. He clearly has the virus.
Okay, so that's a non-doctor saying he's talking to some guy in Liberia, and he's like, he clearly has the virus. I'm like, thank you, non-doc. Thank you. What did you did a visual diagnosis of that?
So
you're not a doctor, and you did a visual diagnosis. That's about par for the course for this type of thing. Again, and people can be like interpret that as some sort of credible anything. I mean, I wouldn't even waste the film it took, or certainly not the time and the money it would take to light that shot and to have the people working on the set. I don't know why for a non-credible statement from some kid who's like, yeah, it looked like he clearly had Ebola to me, whoever I am.
Gentlemen, we were just talking to outside who's been waiting out there for 2 hours. He's clearly very sick. He clearly has the virus.
Clearly.
So my scientific career is always based on sort of probability. I never wait till something is really proven.
And the crowd laughs. That's Dr. Watson, Nobel laureate. He goes, my scientific career is based on that I never wait till anything, never proved anything. He said, I never proved anything in my whole career. And they laugh. And I'm like, that's okay. I mean, I guess, yeah, it's funny, but it's not funny like he's doing stand-up. It's funny that he would have the chutzpah to say that. That's what's funny about it. And yet that's all he ever says is like, I didn't prove anything. I don't know what I'm doing. And that's what I base my career on, which is just insane. And that's why I got the Nobel Prize, and I'm considered the iconic figure of the entire global industry of molecular biology, which is all fraudulent as far as I can tell. Keep it going from here. Listen to him again. He said my scientific career is based on that I never proved anything.
So my scientific career is always based on sort of probability. I
Always.
never wait till something is really proven.
No, never. He said always, never in his whole career. I'm not sure how many more definitive you can get than that. There you go, Dr. Watson, folks. Enjoy.
And you listen to him?
Yeah, I believe everything everyone tells me anywhere.
Sure.
You're dumb if you ask for a degree of certainty.
Okay, here's a run of clips for Dr. Watson. You're dumb if you have ask for a degree of certainty. You're dumb.
I see lots of young faces in the audience, in the presence of, an icon in the history of biology, and we really all feel very privileged that Dr. Watson came to us here at.
Oh, yeah, we're privileged. That's an icon in the history of molecular biology, and that's how they introduce him, and all he does is say absolutely absurd, nonsensical garbage, and he's the icon of the biology field.
So, to me, you don't have to be very smart to succeed in science. You just have to not be dumb.
Genius. And this guy's doing gags or something. I don't know. This is insane, folks. Do you hear that one? Let's play that one again for you. You don't have to be smart. You just have to not be dumb.
So, to me, you don't have.
What kind of doctor of science is this guy? Are you kidding? This is disturbing, and it's disturbing that this is the guy who, by the way, who's telling you have cancer as well. I promise you, and he's throughout my cancer show. If you want to take a look at that one, Questioning Cancer, it's on my website. I would implore you to understand and grasp that this is the guy who is telling you that you're going to die from all these diseases, and then they kill you off with these drug treatments like chemo, which they also said is used to kill people in Brave New World, and that was just they just threw that in there because they know nobody pays attention or critically thinks anything through. You don't have to be just don't have to be dumb.
And the last thing which was important, and never be the brightest person in any room you're in.
Okay, that was Dr. Watson again. This is the highlight film for Dr. Watson. Keep it going. Never be the brightest person in the room. That's his words from the not wise.
And the last thing which was important, and never be the brightest person in any room you're in.
Yeah, that's important.
Great danger in doing science is you want something to be really proven. And, you want it 99% certain. Whereas, in fact, generally, you never get that degree of certainty. And, if it looks like 80%, you might as well assume it's solid.
Dr. James Watson, look him up, the iconic figure in the world of molecular biology. I'm not sure how much more of a jackass you could find in that. I don't think it's possible, frankly.
When you're looking for fraud, it's staring you right in the face.
No amino acids.
No proteins, no enzymes, no nucleic acid. Impossible. No organism can maintain life without them.
You mean no Earth organism? It must have evolved in a totally different way.
You got it. It doesn't come from here.
It's just fabricated.
Shut up already. It's science.
We've been lied to. We've flat out simply been lied to.
Good God.
Nowhere is fear peddled more shamelessly than in the fields of medicine.
Gluten can attack anyone. This is not a time to party. This is a time to get serious. We're calling on everyone to spend this weekend learning about gluten and how to protect yourself and your family. Because we don't know how much time we have.
I wouldn't lie to you.
I understand that people are worried because of the virulence of the disease and the way it's transmitted and the symptoms that occur. I understand that people are scared.
An obvious hoax.
Shit, they're lying to us!
Fitch, there's one thing I don't like. You know what it is?
Sure, Blackie, sure. Somebody trying to put something over on you.
I never liked it.
That was from Panic in the Streets again, and I like that clip. He said, I never liked it. He's like, you know what I don't like? He's like, sure, I know what you don't like. You don't like things when somebody puts something over on you. He goes, I never liked it. That was that guy Jack Palance in the movie Panic in the Streets. It was a pretty good movie, actually. Here he is again. Great stuff.
Fitch, there's one thing I don't like. You know what it is?
Sure, Blackie, sure. Somebody trying to put something over on you.
I never liked it.
How'd you get exposed? Bagels? Gravy? Beer. I didn't know it had gluten. There's always something. For me, it was the soy sauce. Sneaky, sneaky soy sauce.
Always wise to get tested before you do anything that involves body fluids. Always wise to get tested before you do anything that involves body fluids.
The virus is not airborne, but passed on via bodily fluids.
You know, Ebola looks so much like malaria or typhoid, and so there's fever, there is weakness, there could be vomiting, there could be diarrhea.
They're going to use all kinds of bodily functions and fluids that are rather not visually appealing, and they're going to hammer that home just to get you freaked out about it again. And this is all, then bodily fluids is the thread here, which is, you're going to see where that came from also.
New Yorkers who have not been exposed to an infected person's bodily fluids are not at all at risk.
That was our mayor, who's a lying criminal, down with the program as well. I'm sure he's related to somebody at a very high level. I just haven't really looked into it yet.
And I can swear to you, my boy, swear to you, that there's nothing wrong with my bodily fluids. Not a thing.
Okay, so there's Dr. Strangelove, and that's where you got your bodily fluids from. And the guy who who talks of bodily fluids is would be the equivalent of a Fox News viewer or listener now in these days, because he's General Jack Ripper, and he's crazed, and he's lost his he's a crazy right-wing lunatic, and he's concerned about his bodily fluids. So that's going to hit home with the largest news viewership in America, which is the insane Fox News viewership crowd. And don't get me wrong, I wouldn't watch any of that garbage. MSNBC is just as bad, but bottom line is, people are watching Fox because they caters to that insanity, and everybody's being misled grossly. So, and anybody who watches any of that stuff without trying to analyze it for what they're lying to you about rather than believing it is lost their mind as well.
How far away would you stand from a known Ebola case if you were talking to them?
So I think we know that Ebola is spread by infected bodily secretions, and the bodily secretions that are highly contagious will be blood, there will be diarrhea, there will be vomit.
The World Health Organization says the virus is only transmitted through bodily fluids such as sweat, blood, vomit, or feces of someone showing symptoms.
Step is this face shield, which is elaborate and kind of looks like a biking helmet, and you tighten it from the back. And where here, I'm actually protecting any fluid, any blood, any diarrhea or vomitus from getting into my face area.
That's a nice visual.
Don't you see? The whole thing's insane.
That was from the movie The Crazies, where they tell you the whole thing's insane, and it's a fictional presentation, but again, it's interpreted as the phony is interpreted as real. And even though they tell you to your face it's fiction, or they tell you to your face it's insane, that's how. But we prefer to believe it's true. The phony is real, even when they're not even representing it as such.
The most common way you can get Ebola is by touching the body fluids of someone who's sick or has died from it, like their sweat, saliva, or blood.
Okay, so keep in mind that Obama said you can get it from touching somebody's sweat. Where,
No, ma'am, I'm not a doctor.
And again, we're getting information from non-professionals or non-experts, to say the least, and who are just out there. So their job is not their job is to parrot false information, because there's nobody who has a legitimate reputation who would get on TV and say it to you, because none of it's based in any science or anything like that. So if you actually were a scientific person, or you had a reputation as such, you wouldn't be out there telling people about Ebola because there is no science on that. So that's why they have liars, professional liars, telling you instead. So now they're going to confuse that whether you can get it from sweat or not, and then Fox News will take that and run with it and say, you see, Obama's you can't, and again, you see Obama said you can get it from sweat, and you can't. You can only get it from feces and diarrhea and vomiting, when you can't get it from anything because there's no evidence that any of it exists at all, and I'm sure it doesn't. Sure, it doesn't. Because if it did, you wouldn't need a bunch of liars making up stupid stuff, sending you all these different directions, playing this game with you, this simplistic, foolish game that most people can't seem to see through. And maybe that might even be intentional as well.
The most common way you can get Ebola is by touching the body fluids of someone who's sick or has died from it.
And what do you mean it's not touching either? I thought you had to eat it or something like that. You know, so now if you just touch it with your skin, you touch a fluid, and now you're going to get it from the. You see, this is all nonsensical science. None of it. There is no Ebola anyway. But I'm just saying that there's no rhyme or reason to even what they're talking about. Like first they say you have to eat it from monkey meat. Then now you can just touch somebody's sweat and get it. But then they're going to say, then in the same breath, he's going to say, but you can't, it's not contagious or whatever you want to call it. It's still nonsense. Just pure nonsense. And just proof that it couldn't possibly be, or any of it could even exist, period. It just can't. Because you couldn't have this much disinformation if it was something that was real.
Like their sweat, saliva, or blood.
He said you can get it from sweat. And he's a non-expert.
No, ma'am. I'm not a doctor.
That was from Charlie Brown when the teacher yelled at him for Linus for trying to help out his friend. He said he told her to go to the doctor because he wasn't feeling well, and the teacher's like, "What are you, doctor? What are you, a doctor? How are you going to tell her?" And he's like, "Well, he did just tell her to go to the nurse's office." Anyway, so Obama's telling people you can get the Ebola from touching sweat, touching it.
Saliva and sweat, does it carry in those?
So there's conflicting evidence, I think, as to whether or not it is carried in that.
Okay, so on the BBC, he's saying nobody said you can get it from sweat anyway. So now that's a conflicting. But Obama's out there, the president of our country's out there telling us you can. So that's that's irresponsible at best, and it's worse than that because it's lying for sure, and none of it's true. You forget it. They'd be like, "What do you think? You can't get it from touching sweat?" I'm like, "No, you can't get it at all because we gone past the idea that the whole thing is fake, and it is because you can't just take one piece of a lie and say, well, I'll believe one piece of that lie and the rest I won't believe because it's a lie. No, it's all wrong. Then it's all a lie."
Absolutely, and some of this public health messaging sadly is becoming confusing for our readers and for the public in general. We know from experience that Ebola is transmitted through that direct contact with infected bodily fluids.
What do you mean we know from experience? Whatever, that's nonsense. This is double talk, okay? It's just double talk, folks.
Absolutely, and some of this public health messaging sadly is becoming confusing for our readers and for the public in general. We know from experience that Ebola is transmitted through that direct contact with infected bodily fluids, things like infected blood, urine, feces and vomit. However, we do know that although there can be virus in saliva, there's always usually more virus, a lot more virus in fact, in blood and feces in particular.
And when was the last time anybody touched anybody's frankly, urine, vomit, and diarrhea, and just stupid and absurd, the whole thing. And we need to reject all this stuff. None of it's true. None of it has any basis in fact whatsoever. Moving on.
When people are exposed to large contents of bodily fluid like blood, like vomit, and like diarrhea that are very contagious.
I can no longer sit back and allow communist infiltration, communist indoctrination, communist subversion, and the international communist conspiracy to sap and impurify all of our precious bodily fluids.
That was a famous speech from Jack Ripper in the General Ripper in the movie Dr. Strangelove. That's where all this. I believe this is the root of where all this came from. Keep it going.
Nurses had to interact with Mr. Duncan with whatever protective equipment was available at the time when he had copious amounts of diarrhea and vomiting, which produces a lot of contagious fluids.
This guy is a hero. He went to Africa to, save lives. He went to where he was needed. Now he's being treated as a threat or a curiosity.
And you believe this rubbish? Huh? As I said, this guy may or may not even exist. I don't know. I certainly don't take anything at face value. I mean, who swore the hospital staff to complete secrecy here? Why would you do that?
Blood, mucus, feces, semen, you have to come in intimate contact with it while the person is infected. Now, if you came across some strange mucus or feces or something out there on the subway, the street, or anywhere else, don't eat it. Don't let it get into your body. Don't touch it. And
just insane.
Search all the marketplaces, the square, the alleys. Curfew men, search that area over there. And the others will run with mucus.
We face quite a problem. How to disinfect the human body, one of the dirtiest things in the known universe.
Okay, that was from Andromeda Strain, where that's that anti-human thing where he's a scientist or a doctor in the future, and he's like human body, the most dirtiest thing in the known universe. Isn't that nice? Because again, the humans are dirty and a plague on the universe.
It is said that the people are revolting.
You said it. They stink on ice.
He didn't like the way the cotton shirts that he wore absorbed, his bodily fluids.
The next recommendation is to wear a face mask, and this is, again, to prevent not an aerosolized virus getting into my mouth, but this is just to protect my own skin and my own mouth from getting any of an infected patient's fluid splashed into my mouth.
But it basically covers the mouth and the nose.
It covers my mouth and my nose.
Okay.
God willing, we will prevail in peace and freedom from fear and in true health through the purity and essence of our natural fluids.
If a member of your family has the viral illness known as the common cold, what do you normally do? Well, you try to avoid contact with that person. Certainly you want to avoid them sneezing on you or the droplets from their cough spreading anywhere in the house. Isn't that what you would do? And then what do? Well, you both isolate and avoid an infected patient, even if they have the common cold. Well, Ebola is a viral illness. Common sense would dictate that you isolate and avoid contact with patients because in this case, unlike the common cold, as you know, the disease can be fatal.
Okay, so now they're going to briefly, Savage, and now I got a clip from The Big Bang Theory, another popular TV show, and this was also from several years ago, and they're gonna tie the common cold together with Ebola.
One time at my lab, a petri dish of genetically modified supervirus went missing. That day we made a pinky swear never to admit we crossed Ebola with the common cold.
Why the hell would you cross Ebola with the common cold?
We never did. That would be a terrible, terrible thing.
Right, so she's saying that they did do that. And again, that's just lending credulity to the idea that that could be done even if it was possible, or that was even possible. First of all, you can't, or to cross anything with a common. They don't even know how a common cold. You see, this is all so dubious. Who knows? I don't believe that these doctors know anything about the common cold, and they certainly don't even. And Ebola doesn't exist at all. That's how obvious to me. Now, people are like, well, there's people dying in Africa, Max. So these people you're not seeing people. It's like, yeah. They put some poison in their water or in their food or at the supermarket or something, and a bunch of people got sick. And then they went to the then they gave a whole bunch of doctors at these clinics funding to tell her and say, well, if they throw up, tell them they got Ebola, and we'll give you $10,000 for every person you comes down with it, because we're funding. We want to they act like they're trying to eradicate it when really. So yeah, of course you're going to tell people they got it, and all from a diagnosis of vomiting or something like that, which is definitely is a diagnosis of some sort of food poisoning or something, and that's exactly how it works. None of it has any. There's no virus out there, and all that stuff sounds very dubious to me. And I'm sorry, folks, but it's pretty obvious. I don't care. You're like, oh, you're not a doctor. Like, show me a real doctor. I showed you the top doctor. He's a jackass. Okay, and I'll show me any doctor. I challenge any doctor on earth at any time. Anytime you come to me, I'll put you on my show and we'll discuss it. And I promise you, nobody will do it. Keep it going.
We don't know what mutation this virus may take, do we?
Well, some people believe it's already mutated. So Peter Jarling at the NIAID, National Institutes for Allergy and Infectious Diseases, thinks that the virus has changed in a way where it's burning hotter and faster.
What kind of burning? A virus is burning hotter and faster. What is it? A trees of charcoal, or something like that? You see, this is non-scientific jargon, or and beyond non-scientific. It's for elementary school level jargon used, and he said somebody thinks that. I'm like, when somebody thinks that? So nobody's going on record. And again, there isn't. These people are not even the actual person who thinks it. So they're saying this is hearsay about somebody who remains nameless as well. This is just nonsense, okay? And it's just pathetic that we could go through hours of this stuff, and there's not one person even making any claim at all, except for he said, she said, and this and that, and I heard that somebody said this, and now you got Ebola now.
On Amazon.com, a pack of 10 face masks tells customers the product is recommended by the World Health Organization for protection against Ebola. But while businesses are cashing in on a panicked public, anxious consumers are likely to be wasting their money. Medical experts have repeatedly stated that Ebola is not airborne, which means face masks serve no protective purposes.
Right, but the World Health Organization is recommending that you get a face mask. Again, this is all misdirection and it's illogical and nonsensical, and that's all you get. There isn't anything credible out there at all about have anything to do with any of this stuff or any of this medical garbage anymore.
The Center for Disease Control says when working with Ebola patients, you are to wear gloves, a fluid-resistant gown, goggles, or a face shield and a face mask.
Yeah, this Mr. Credibility himself, Al Sharpton.
Amazon is claiming a pack of 10 face masks is being recommended by the World Health Organization to shield against the disease. That's despite medical experts saying masks are of no use at all.
So why do all these fools believe this charade?
We shared a workspace, we shared vehicles, we shared equipment, but everyone here is hyper alert. We have not been in close proximity. No one shakes hands. There's no hugging.
Dr. Psycho from NBC. So she's like, she was supposedly in Liberia, and she's like, yeah, we haven't hugged or shook hands or anything, whatever. And then and Obama's going to have the same script. Listen to this, and he's going to flip it. This is so stupid.
I shook hands with, hugged, and kissed, not the doctors, but a couple of the nurses at Emory because of the valiant work that they did in treating one of the patients. They followed the protocols, they knew what they were doing, and I felt perfectly safe doing so.
Again, this is you can see how this was set up like that. So she says it, and then he flips it and says it. And it's so contrived, it's pathetic, and anybody who would believe this is lost their mind.
I shook hands with.
We shared a workspace, we shared vehicles, we shared equipment, but everyone here is hyper alert. We have not been in close proximity. No one shakes hands. There's no hugging.
I shook hands with, hugged, and kissed. Not the doctors, but a couple of the nurses at Emory because of the valiant work that they did.
Yeah, right. Yeah, he ran over to kiss and hug and shake hands, whatever. So stupid, and that was a setup again to misdirect you and make you think that he's not in charge or he's irresponsible or and confused, like the whole idea of whether or not how you can get it or you can't get it. When you can't get something, when there is nothing to get anyway, it's all just nonsense. I think I'm making that very clear, but let's keep it going.
And you listen to him?
Yeah, I believe everything everyone tells me anywhere.
Exactly.
Well, how much area is being exposed to contamination?
Well, right now, if you look at me, if I were standing over a patient and the patient vomited, I could certainly get exposure right here in this neck area.
She gave me the jack.
If you were standing talking to someone who was Ebola, and in many cases obviously occurring in West Africa, you would just stand far enough away to know that if they accidentally coughed or vomited or something, you wouldn't in any way be affected. That's correct.
Now, Charles, you know, Ebola is contracted through direct contact, but the director of the CDC says that includes being near someone who sneezes. Listen to this.
So there are certainly...
They get helicopters on in the background. If you heard somebody past shows where there's a theory about, not a theory, it's obvious. Helicopters or those helicopter sounds are symbolize the elite power structure. You know, is hovering over you. That's another audio mind controlled technique.
Now, Charles, you know, Ebola is contracted through direct contact, but the director of the CDC says that includes being near someone who sneezes. Listen to this.
So there are certainly theoretical situations where someone sneezes, and if you then were sneezed on and then touched your eye or mouth or nose with the part of your body that was sneezed on, it would not be impossible that you could get spread in that way. And that's why, if you look at our guidelines, we say prolonged...
And then the interviewer or the person who's on the phone with him sneezes. Like that's what a coincidence. That was timely. Keep it going.
It would not be impossible that you could get spread in that way. And that's why, if you look at our guidelines, we say prolonged exposure within 1 meter or 3 feet is considered contact.
Right. So if you're within a meter of somebody now, that's considered contact. That's again just to make nobody safe, and that's why you just have to trust us and listen to what we tell you. That's the head of the CDC who's discredited himself altogether, but they all are. It's not just him, folks. It's all of them. All of them.
Ebola is not spread through the air like the flu. You cannot get it from casual contact, like sitting next to someone on a bus.
Right. Well, sitting next to somebody on the bus is a lot closer than 3 feet, and that's Obama just conflicting with what the head of the CDC, his man at the head of the CDC said, and again talking about something that none of it's true because there is no Ebola.
Ebola is not spread through the air like the flu. You cannot get it from casual contact, like sitting next to someone on a bus.
And the argument that it conflicts with the other guy's argument lends credibility to the fact that, the lie that it exists. Okay, that's what they do. Why they do that. So now we're arguing whether you can get it like this or get it like that. When we really should be arguing that it exists at all. Okay, because we skipped over that argument to the stupid argument, bouncing people back and forth like idiots, and that's what people like to get.
Yes, it is transmitted casually through the air. Never mind what the hacks in the government media complex tell you.
So then Savage, who's like claiming to be an expert epidemiologist, will tell you yes, he will counter what both of them say. He'll say that they're both don't listen to what they're saying. I'm telling you can get it like that. The other two say you can't, and I'm telling you that none of you can get it for anything because it's none of it. It doesn't even exist. Okay, it's just all made up. It's all nonsense.
Science!
Now listen to me, all of you. There's no reason for anybody to be afraid as long as you keep your distance and keep your head.
Again, in Gunsmoke, they're doing the same. This is an old shim sham, folks.
And stay away from other people.
No, what do I do?
Don't talk to anyone. Don't touch anyone. That's the most important thing.
And speaking of Shim Shams, well, I was gonna play a clip from that, but I'll play it for you after. But anyway, they're just stay away from other people. Again, just it's all that was in Contagion now. You see, so this is not a new deception. It's an old tried and true hoax or scam, and just repackaged for a new audience. Keep it going.
They say, "Don't worry, it's only mixture of bodily."
Now here's Rand Paul, who's another liar and clown, also, and a deception artist or hoaxer as well, and he who's got some sort of credibility. Why I don't know, because well, I guess I might have fell for some of his father's stuff a long time ago also, but I'm quite sure now that they're all part of the liar team as well.
They say, "Don't worry, it's only mixture of bodily fluids through direct contact." So what are you thinking? I'm thinking like AIDS. You don't get AIDS at a cocktail party, so my level of alarm goes down, and if I'm treating somebody or looking at them around them, I'm thinking, oh no, it's like AIDS, I'm not going to get it. But it really isn't like AIDS. And then they'll say in a little lower voice, oh, but direct contact can be 3 feet from somebody.
Okay, so there's Rand Paul linking it to AIDS, which is also very dubious and another deception. We can get into that in another show. And but again, he's already skipped over the idea whether it exists at all, and we're back to like how you can get it now, and it's just endless. This garbage is endless.
I mean, is this some kind of incredible joke that people are so stupid they'll fall for this?
Yeah, I believe everything everyone tells me anywhere.
There's no guarantee that another so-called biological crisis won't occur again.
What do we do about that?
Precisely, Senator. What do we do?
You're going to start saying, well, what can I do about this? Well, there's some obvious prevention tips that you can practice. I wouldn't recommend eating in an Eritrean restaurant this evening or dining on bushmeat, for example.
Okay, so Eritrea is a country in East Africa. By the way, it's not even West Africa. That shows you how I'm not sure if that's I imagine that's how, like, he probably doesn't even know where Eritrea is anyway. But that was, and that's his little racist garbage. Like, I wouldn't, he's thinking, the best way to not get Ebola is by boycotting East African restaurants, where they now, again, I don't believe that any of this stuff comes quote unquote from Africa anyway, because that has no basis in any type of scientific explanations either. But but he's going to say don't eat bushmeat like some bigoted racist. Don't eat bushmeat and don't go to Eritrea. And I don't know why he's picking on Eritreans again. Eritrea is actually on the east coast of Africa.
Monkeys are both a delicacy and pets. In fact, they're so prevalent, it's hard to make the connection that these cute monkeys could harbor a super virus or create a pandemic.
That's Vice News again saying that monkeys are a delicacy. I've heard that in China, or that they might eat monkey brains or something like that. I've never seen, but I know many African people, nice people. Not one of them ever ate a monkey in their life, and if you ask them if they ever ate a monkey, they look at you like you're nuts. Okay, it's ridiculous. Okay, again, this kind of got racist and distasteful undertones in it. It kind of disgusts me that we propagate this nonsense, and you wonder why people are so misinformed about and have all these racist and or just ignorant views on things.
You know they spray virus on beef rather than clean the rat shit out of the slaughterhouses?
What is this now?
Jesus Christ.
It's true. Read the paper.
Okay, that was in Sopranos many years ago, where they were already telling that he's Tony's kid is saying that they spray viruses to keep the beef preserve it or something like that. I'm not sure what the point of that was, but whatever that's supposed to mean. Again, that was just a more predictive programming. So then when you find out somebody eats monkey meat, you're like, oh, that's because there's viruses on meat.
Will you stop trying to scare me?
Scientists speculate that a possible cause of the Ebola outbreak might stem from the prevalent consumption of bushmeat from animals like monkeys and fruit bats.
Prevalent consumption of bushmeat is what they're saying. There's a prevalent consumption. Prevalent meaning that everybody's eating monkeys and fruit bats. Are you kidding me?
Use common sense.
I guess fruit bats taste a little bit like maybe like a quail or something like that. I don't know, but whatever. It's so stupid. Here, I'll play that one for again. We'll keep it going.
Scientists speculate that
and that's Vice News. And listen to this listen to this disclaimer. Scientists speculate. Okay, so they didn't prove anything, or they just so some guy said that. That's another way of saying scientists speculate. Some clown speculated, like Dr. Watson said. Oh, well, I don't prove anything anyway. My whole career.
Possible cause of the Ebola outbreak might stem from the prevalent consumption of bushmeat from animals like monkeys and fruit bats.
A lot of people eating fruit bats, whatever that is.
Use common sense practices. Don't go near anyone who's come from the African area. Don't eat any garbage food from Africa in a can or anything else.
That's nice.
The scientific concerns surrounding the consumption of bushmeat begin in our genes. Because we share 99% of our DNA with monkeys.
Here's a non-scientist jerk-off telling you some garbage about the scientific. We share 99% of our DNA with monkeys. That's ridiculous, okay? And that shows to show you. And again, Dr. Watson invented DNA or discovered DNA. So I can't buy into any of this stuff. And they got some kid who's neither a intellectual or intelligent or a scientist or a doctor telling you about some technical DNA stuff that he knows nothing about, even if he and it doesn't make any sense even if he did. Oh, geez. Oh my goodness.
The scientific concerns surrounding the consumption of bushmeat begin in our genes. Because we share 99% of our DNA with monkeys, the chances of an infectious and incurable disease like Ebola crossing over from a monkey to a human is exponentially higher than with any other animal.
It's ridiculous.
It might happen. Yeah, and monkeys might fly out of my butt.
But if you are not insane, what you will do is you will avoid any contact with anyone who's been to these areas. And you'll practice the germophobic techniques that I've used my whole life. I'm an inveterate hand washer. I don't go to the supermarket without coming back and taking off my shoes and washing my hands.
This guy's a total idiot, too. Keep going.
Bushmeat in many parts of the world still is a necessary part of the diet. There are certain types of bushmeat which we know are more dangerous than others. And those particularly are birds, non-human primates, including the chimpanzees, gorillas, monkeys, bats, we're learning, are of great concern.
Yeah, they're great. He was like, let's say they're a great little carrier of Ebola, bat meat. A lot of people eating bat meat and gorilla meat and chimpanzee meat.
All the cases have originated in the Middle East, and it's not clear how the virus is being spread there. It's possible that camels or bats may be transmitting it.
Okay, that's another virus that I found that they say originated in the Middle East, and of course, you see, it all plays into people's racist inclinations, where they're if it's from Africa that they're eating monkey meat, and if it's in the Middle East they're eating camel meat.
All the cases have originated in the Middle East, and it's not clear how the virus is being spread there. It's possible that camels or bats may be transmitting it.
To the vet post. What did Michael Savage, and may I remind you, Dr. Michael Savage, I am not a high school dropout. I have a real PhD, which includes a very big portion in epidemiology. Why am I telling you this? Because you have no one else to turn to.
Let me give you some advice. Now, this man happens to be a very fine doctor. If you're interested in the lives of your party on board there, you'll pay close attention to what he says.
I picked my own doctor,
And he cut off my balls. Thanks, Obamacare.
I'm a doctor and I can cure you. It's your only chance.
I don't need no doctor, cause I know what's in me. I don't need no doctor, no, cause I know what's in me.
The great Ray Charles.
And the FDA, they approved a virus spray because it kills a similar bacteria found on meat.
Must be a good thing then.
Yeah, the Sopranos just planting that into your head, the FDA, and they spray viruses on meat now, and Tony's like, that must be a good thing. Oh, yeah.
The MERS virus is known to exist in camels.
Ebola fears land on one of Spain's Canary Islands when a group of sub-Saharan migrants arrive on its shores. They wait under the scorching sun for almost 5 hours as authorities try to decide whether to put the Ebola protocol into action after they found that 6 of the illegal immigrants had a high fever. It was an unwelcome surprise for holidaymakers. Authorities burned the boat that carried the migrants. Local media said that once the doctors found out that none of the migrants had been in Sierra Leone, Liberia, or Guinea, they were taken away from the beach in the back of a rubbish truck.
That's just very distasteful, racist. So the some African people washed up on shore of the Canary Islands somehow, and which none of this happened or is true, obviously. And then the people on the beach, who rich tourists, were not happy that they were washed up even on the beach, and then they sat there for 5 hours in the heat, and they show them lying around like homeless people or something, and then they took away in a rubbish truck. Isn't that a good tidbit of information? This is like they hold them off like they were garbage again, just to and then people like, oh, okay, that sounds right to me. Yeah, I believe that.
And here's this bush rodent, we call it bush rat. Sea stuff a delicacy, my man. If you give somebody cow meat, they'll prefer this. If you give them fish, they will prefer this. Seriously.
And he's laughing while he's saying it. That's again on that stupid garbage Vice News, and he's saying that they prefer bush rat meat to cow meat and fish. And he laughs while he says it, and he says seriously because he knows that sounds ridiculous. And again, that they package that as a legitimate news show, Vice News, which is absurd.
The virus contains both bat and pig sequences, and in the bottom right you can see the dark green is pig and the light green is bat, and here you can see the crossover event, bat, and pig, bat.
That was a clip from that movie Contagion, again, with the bat and pig sequences. Again, only the these camels and bat and pigs and monkeys. That's just to play with people's ignorance. Continuing on.
Lions and tigers and bears. Oh my!
We just saw this guy randomly on the side of the street. He's got a pet monkey that he got last night from Ivory Coast. His friend wanted to eat it, but he said, no, I'm keeping it as a pet.
More quality journalism from Vice News. He said, we just saw some guy on the street, and he was carrying a monkey. He had a monkey as a pet, and his friend wanted to eat it. Yeah, whatever.
Now, how stupid can you be?
I haven't got a brain.
Ebola is now in the country. One of the doctors described Ebola as a dangerous virus that is highly contagious. It's being spread by contact with body fluids or gravely ill infected persons or animals like bats and monkeys. This is the news at 3.
That was a clip from one of the Ebola movies from the Nollywood movie people making movies in Nigeria again. Telling Nigerians a bunch of lies and garbage in their movies to make them believe that stuff too.
So there's evidence that before the virus gets into camels, it's found in bats. You don't believe that just because it was on TV, right? You don't believe that just because it was on TV, right?
No, of course you don't.
So what can you do about it? As I say, why don't you avoid people who have traveled to those areas? Don't invite them over for dinner tonight.
Racist Michael Savage.
Do you worry about eating this?
No, it's sweet.
It's sweet?
Yeah, very sweet. Good.
You like it?
Sweet meat.
And you believe this rubbish. Do you know you do? You believe this tripe.
Yeah, I believe everything everyone tells me anywhere.
There was no one to pick up hazardous waste as it piled to the ceiling.
As it piled to the ceiling.
As it piled to the ceiling.
Yeah, she's full of crap.
Today, the UN highlighted the poverty and squalor that have allowed Ebola to take hold. Overcrowding and a lack of clean water are the ideal conditions for the virus to spread.
So now they're on BBC and several other outlets. They're gonna tell you that Africans are all a bunch of dirty, squalor living animals, and that's why Ebola thrives there.
Water is the source of all life.
Today, the UN highlighted the poverty and squalor that have allowed Ebola to take hold. Overcrowding and a lack of clean water are the ideal conditions for the virus to spread.
Water is the source of all life. 7/10 of this Earth's surface is water. Why do you realize that 70% of you is water?
Oh, God.
And as human beings, you and I need fresh, pure water to replenish our precious bodily fluids. Are you beginning to understand?
Ebola spreads most quickly in poor countries with weak health services. Ebola spreads most quickly in poor countries with weak health services.
The situation will get worse before it gets better, but we shouldn't flinch in our resolve to defeat Ebola, both for the safety of the British population and as part of our responsibility to some of the poorest countries on the planet.
You ought to notify the immigration authorities immediately.
The capital cities are the biggest worry. It's far harder to tackle Ebola in densely populated slums.
Currently, the most popular song in Liberia is called Ebola in Town.
Don't touch your friend, no touching. No eating something dangerous. Ebola, Ebola in town. Don't touch your friend, no kissing. No eating something dangerous. Now go. Now go.
Whatever it takes, stop this crisis.
I don't want to die. Please. I am willing to pay anything. Whatever it takes. I am willing to pay. Just to make sure I'm well again.
That's from another Nollywood movie.
And of course, the fearmongers are also preying on fear of disease. And the solution that the fearmongers give us are drugs.
I don't need no doctor for my prescription to be filled. I don't need no doctor.
My neighbor, for example, this morning I went to his house and he was sick. I was able to give him drugs, but he died this afternoon.
Is there any cure for Ebola?
ZMAP.
So the drug that many people have read about in the media is something called ZMAP.
ZMAP. This used to be an orphan drug. What companies now actually see the potential for profit in developing an Ebola therapy?
ZMAP. 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 ZMAP.
ZMAP.
There's a cure for this. I don't want it. Don't want it. If there's a cure for this, I don't want it. I don't want it.
There's no cure for something that doesn't exist, and that's just another. And the Z is significant. Seems like everything when it has to do with a intelligence, deception, and scam has a Z in it, including the names of the people involved and things like that. Anyway, so now it's called ZMAP. Is some sort of a drug that's probably some sort of a poison, but they're going to tell you it's going to cure your Ebola, which doesn't exist to begin with. It's again just nonsense.
Fear anesthetizes us. It coerces us, making us believe that we can do little on our own to prevent or treat disease, and forces whole nations to kneel at the altars of the drug industry.
there could be situations where health risk is exploited.
There are entire industries to be built based on vaccines that stay ahead of drug-resistant bacteria.
There's an entire Ebola industry emerging. Oh, the stocks are booming in Ebola drug stocks. It's true that there's no effective drug, but have you seen what's happened with Ebola drug stocks over the last few weeks? Plenty of people on Wall Street have been screaming and jumping up and down, buying, selling, buying. Isn't capitalism wonderful at the end of the day?
We're essentially redoubling our commitment. Over this last decade, we've spent $4.5 billion on vaccine research and delivery. And today we're announcing a commitment over this next decade, which we think of as a decade of vaccines having incredible impact. We're announcing that we'll spend over $10 billion on vaccines.
Okay, we're going to the vaccine segment of this Ebola show, and I'm gonna do as little of the talking as I can, and I'll let these clips do the talking. These people are the greatest mass murderers in the history of the world, and they're using vaccines to exterminate people by the hundreds of millions and billions, and you'll hear them say it in their own words. You don't have to take my word for it. This is the most evil thing I've seen in my lifetime. I'm not kidding, and I'm going to show you how it works. A lot of this stuff is I laid it out in such a way that it's going to speak for itself. I'm going to try to just let you try to focus and listen to what these people are saying in their own words. If I have to reiterate some of it, I will. Keep it going.
Oh, Nancy, I'm worried about Hank. He hasn't done his business.
Well, so Gates is told you just said he's already put $4.5 billion into vaccines. That was 10 years ago, and now he's going to double that and put another $10 billion in over the next 10 years. It's unlimited money going into the bunk science of vaccines, which is really just a extermination tactic, and I will make that abundantly clear. Have a listen. Try to listen to this, please.
We're essentially redoubling our commitment. Over this last decade, we've spent $4.5 billion on vaccine research and delivery. And today we're announcing a commitment over this next decade, which we think of as a decade of vaccines having incredible impact. We're announcing that we'll spend over $10 billion on vaccines.
Nancy, I'm worried about Hank. He hasn't done his business in 4 days.
Good Lord, poor Hank. He looks so healthy. But then, so did Elvis Presley.
Nancy, you don't think it's something serious?
Well, I'm a meteorologist, not a doctor, but if I had to make an educated guess, I'd say he's got polio.
Multiple overseas media outlets have reported on the fact that polio vaccines linked to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and his Gavi Alliance have on record caused nearly 48,000 children in India to suffer neurological damage and become permanently paralyzed.
The whole we're going to spread mass hysteria through an infection or a disease, and we're going to get everybody to take vaccines, and we've heard about the vaccines. The vaccines is the real cause of the disease, not the actual disease itself.
Boys are sort of wondering why they have to take these shots.
They've been wondering, have they? Where do they think they are? In a summer camp? Because the commissioner said so, that's why.
That's what I told them. Yes, sir.
It's a belief system, and that's it. I believe in vaccines. Well, it doesn't have anything to do with beliefs. We're not talking about faith here. We're talking about, does it work or doesn't it work? Does it cause harm or doesn't it cause harm?
Yeah, we're putting on gloves. I'm starting to put them on. I'm putting on 2 pairs. That's the current recommendation. And we usually wear 2 pairs of gloves really to prevent needle sticks.
And I said to the nurse, how come you're wearing those rubber gloves? She said, I can't get this on my skin. I said, you're shooting that right in my fucking vein.
Now there's going to be a call to vaccinate entire populations of nations to protect them from getting and spreading the Ebola virus.
What can we do to protect Americans?
Well, I think the number one thing that we need to do is try to come up with a therapeutic or a vaccine.
Right now, I want to inoculate every man on board. After that, you'll put about and quarantine your ship under my men.
Is there any cure for Ebola?
Monday, the first of 39 healthy volunteers began getting the experimental Ebola vaccine.
The first ever human trials of an Ebola vaccine.
An Ebola vaccine.
An Ebola vaccine.
Forget the conspiracy. Listen to our government agencies. These guys are telling the truth. You know, there's no conspiracy here, folks. Just get your damn vaccine.
Dr. Psycho.
And now, according to an expert, an assistant dean at Texas A&M School of Public Health, quote, the current outbreak has somewhat changed our thinking. More people now think the world needs an Ebola vaccine.
Homer, they have a vaccine.
All right, we'll get the vaccine.
Roll up your sleeve.
What do you mean? What do you think you're going to do?
Roll up your sleeve.
Why should I take one of those things?
Because the commissioner said so.
Forced vaccines.
There is a consensus on the science.
Yeah, there's a consensus on the science.
Great danger in doing science is you want something to be really proven. And, you want it 99% certain. Whereas, in fact, generally, you never get that degree of certainty. And, if it looks like 80%, you might as well assume it's solid.
Yeah, that's the guy who works on those vaccines, by the way, folks, okay, just for the record.
In none of these people's opinion is science, or was it, or will it ever be, decided by consensus.
He was talking about Einstein, by the way, in that clip.
What happened to him? He injected himself with the vaccine. He was unconscious when I found him.
Okay, so Star Trek, the guy injects himself with the vaccine. The doc injects himself with the vaccine, and Spock finds him unconscious on the floor. That's how good that vaccine was.
Just listening to my boy Glenn Beck.
Yeah, and Glenn Beck is a very big fan of Bill Gates.
Bill Gates is a really smart guy.
Injecting poisonous drugs of hate into the veins of peoples normally humane.
So Martin Luther King was on to them on the vaccines. He was called it in poisonous drugs of hate.
If there's a remedy, I'll run from it.
Diana Ross had the right idea. She said, if there's a remedy, I'll run from it.
The vaccine could be fatal.
On Star Trek again, the vaccine could be fatal. What kind of vaccine is that? They all are. They all could be, and they're all dangerous, and every single one of them injures people. Whether they injure you for life or changes your life, maybe sometimes, luckily, no, but that doesn't mean they aren't all harmful, because they are. None of them work for anything except to harm people. And that sounds crazy, but it's true.
Well, the initial information was that the vaccine was harmless.
So my scientific career is always based on sort of probability. I never wait till something is really proven. And
we ask only that you trust us. Only that you simply trust us.
Foundation first started up, it was focused on, when our foundation first started up, it was focused on reproductive health. That was the main thing we did, because I thought, population growth in poor countries is the biggest problem they face.
Reproductive health, population growth in poor countries, that's what he's obsessed with. He's, this guy really needs to be locked up and thrown away the key. I mean, any thinking person can tell that he's a brutal mass murderer. Yet he's out there pushing the vaccines, and people are still taking them. Because why? Because he's credited with an operating system that I'm sure has nothing to do. He has nothing to do with him either, because he's strictly a Nazi eugenicist murderer.
They are not doing this for money. They are not trying to create profit. They are trying to cull the population. And Bill Gates said that vaccines was one of the, out of his own mouth, was one of the best methods. Vaccines was one of the best methods to cull the population. there is a agenda to cull or to kill a large number of people.
Yeah, and then the number they bounce around is 1 billion all the time, and I'll show you where that's out of their own mouths too.
What you're seeing is that the density in the poor areas is greater than they can grow the food, greater than they can educate, greater than they can provide the jobs. So you create these hot spots of instability. So even if all you care about is national security, these health things are a very cheap way to make sure you're not going to have turmoil that eventually would affect the whole world.
Because of these health things are a good way to get rid of people and kill people, and I'm not sure why you call it a health thing. I don't know. I'm not sure whose health that's benefiting. Certainly not the people who are getting injected.
These I took from published peer-reviewed papers on who's funding some of this research in anti-fertility vaccines. Here they are: Rockefeller Foundation, Population Council. Here's a review article in 1991 in Human Reproduction. World Health Organization Task Force on Vaccines for Fertility Regulation. I circled it was established in 1972. When was the Rockefeller Commission report published? 1972.
Yeah, so the Population Council was established by John D. Rockefeller III. The anti-fertility vaccines are also funded and basically created by them, the Rockefeller camp, and Gates, his Gavi Alliance, which Gates, and I will even show you a clip in the show about that, where Gates credits the Rockefellers with funding his Gavi project, which is the Global Alliance for Immunization and Vaccination, Vaccination Immunization, GAVI, and you can look that up. And they, so there's no, nobody's even, this is hidden in plain view. They're using vaccines to depopulate. That's what, it's clear.
And the good news is that as you make those breakthroughs, the population growth in the country goes down. These are all about saving lives. The population growth in the country goes down. The good news is the population growth in the country goes down.
And this is an Orwellian doublethink or doublespeak where he says population growth goes down. It's about saving lives. So that's doublespeak.
We can save lives, and our countries can work together to improve public health so this kind of outbreak doesn't happen again.
Oh, so Obama's using the same doublespeak. He says, they both say we can, and Gates is going to tell you, we can get reduce the population and save lives with improving health. And then you heard Obama parrot the same exact phrases and words, the same scripting, and that's doublespeak for cull population and kill people is save lives and improve health.
We can save lives, and our countries can work together to improve public health so this kind of outbreak doesn't happen again.
And the good news is that as you make those breakthroughs, the population growth in the country goes down. These are all about saving lives. The population growth.
And in the clip before, he said it's this health thing that we do, and so improving health and saving lives is a doublespeak for exterminating populations in Africa and everywhere, and India and all over.
We can save lives, and our countries can work together to improve public health.
Key thing you can do to reduce population growth is actually improve health.
Gates again, the doublespeak, you see?
And so that's my goal every year, is letting them know early on, I care about you, and you can trust me, and I have your best interest at heart.
The Rockefellers, who are now funding vaccine programs, who have written the Rockefeller Commission report, they basically were involved with the research that introduced mercury in vaccines. J.D. Rockefeller III established a Population Council in 1952 and played a leading role in the efforts to bring the problem of overpopulation to global attention.
Okay, so this guy's a very legitimate and a very thorough researcher and doctor, MD, Dr. David Ayub, and he said Rockefellers were the behind putting mercury, which is which straight up poison, in vaccines, and they still do it today. And you could look at his research where he says that's not even being disputed. They're the ones who are behind putting it in, and that should say all that you need to say. But and and because of their power and their control over things, it's still being done, even though nobody's even disputing that it's straight up murderous and poisonous and causes brain damage and death.
Any of this getting through to you, son?
The Rockefellers, who are now funding
That was Foghorn Leghorn again. Son.
vaccine programs, who have written the Rockefeller Commission report, they basically were involved with the research that introduced mercury in vaccines. J.D. Rockefeller III established a population council in 1952 and played a leading role in the efforts to bring the problem of overpopulation to global attention.
Any of this getting through to you, son?
I want to help you. I'm begging you. Let me help you.
The United Nations can and should play an essential role in helping the world find a satisfactory way of stabilizing world population.
David Rockefeller, also obsessed with population control and depopulation. That's all that ever comes out of his mouth and out of Gates' mouth. And then Obama kind of says he parrots the same things, but he packages it in his little slick, deceptive and vague way, but he's still using the same exact words and phrases. Moving on.
And they thought that if there was a pandemic, 1 billion people would get sick.
Here's that number, a billion.
If we improve health rapidly, we will get the...
We improve health. I told you what that's double speak for kill people. Improve health rapidly, he said.
If we improve health rapidly, we will get the peak population to be as much as 1 billion below the current expected peak.
He's trying to get rid of 1 billion people.
This man is obviously a psychotic.
We still have the poorest billion.
This is his Nazi friend. His name is Hans Gorling. He did this is a TED Talk also, where they praise each other. Gates introduced him. When I say Nazi, I'm not just kidding. He's like this guy's a psychopath as well, and he's worried about his number is 1 billion also. Okay, and he's talking about vaccines also.
We still have the poorest billion. So the only way of really getting world population to stop is to continue to improve child survival. That's why investments by Gates Foundation, UNICEF and aid organization, together with national government in the poorest countries are so good. Because they are actually helping us to reach a sustainable population size of the world. Child survival is the new green. It's only by child surviving that we will stop population growth.
By child survival, you see, that's double speak, my friends, okay? He said only by child survival will we reduce population.
What am I, a schmuck on wheels?
And these people are sick.
A major politician in the British Parliament for the Green Party said that because of the direction we've all been pushed in for a long time, their goals for sustainability, population reduction, they didn't need the massive working class anymore, and they had to reduce the population and keep all the resources for themselves at the top.
Right, so that's the end game is to exterminate the people, and then steal the resources from these vast, giant continent of Africa and beyond, well beyond, and they're all saying the same words. He said, child survival is a new green. This guy's Alan Watts talking about a guy who's in the British Parliament, who's in the Green Party. They're all talking about sustainability. The other guy said, Gorling said sustainability. Gates says sustainability. Obama says sustainability. It's all doublespeak for culling and murdering people with vaccines and culling populations. And I'm tying it in because you heard in the beginning of this segment on vaccines that they're talking about Ebola vaccine, Ebola vaccine, Ebola vaccine, Ebola vaccine. And again, this is some sick shit. And these people are psycho murderers, period. Let's move on.
A major politician in the British Parliament for the Green Party said that because of the direction we've all been pushed in for a long time, their goals for sustainability, population reduction, they didn't need the massive working class anymore, and they had to reduce the population and keep all the resources for themselves at the top.
There you go. All the same buzzwords. continuing on.
Here's an article that Gates quotes the Rockefellers, and this is Rockefeller University News and Press. Gates says that taking our lead and our inspiration from work already done by the Rockefeller Foundation, our foundation actually started Gavi. He also praised the Rockefeller family's century of philanthropy, saying, it seems like every new corner we turn, the Rockefellers are already there, and in some cases they have been there for a long, long time.
Today, it is infinitely easier to kill 1 million people than to control 1 million people. It is easier to kill than to control.
That's Zbigniew Brzezinski. That clip speaks for itself. He's a psychopath as well. He's also founder of the Council on Foreign Relations. The founder of the Trilateral Commission, which is also, he founded it with John D. Rockefeller III also. He looks just like John D. Rockefeller Jr. I'm relatively convinced that he's one of their he's blood relative of theirs. He's certainly at the highest points in their power structure. Zbigniew Brzezinski, and he's like, it's easier to kill 1 million people than control 1 million people. I mean, I'm not sure why he needs to do either of those, but he's a straight up and down psychopath, and he brags about that on TV. He said that on TV show on the news, or at a speech he gave, I think, in front of the CFO. One of those things. That's the big new psycho Brzezinski, and his daughter is on MSNBC in the mornings also, by the way.
Today, it is infinitely easier to kill 1 million people than to control 1 million people. It is easier to kill than to control.
This man is obviously a psychotic.
He is one of our most outstanding scholars, one of our most outstanding thinkers. He has proven to be an outstanding friend and somebody who I've learned an immense amount from.
That's Obama kissing Z-Biggs. That's what he's talking about. Z-Big, he's kissing his ass. They're actually, I believe, they're blood relatives as well. If you know where I stand and all that stuff, you could check my website for that too. He's kissing Z-Big's ass. He's telling me he's taught me everything I know. He's an outstanding scholar, and he's like, but he talks about killing 1 million people and controlling 1 million people. These people, this is just, it's right in your face. I mean, I'm not sure how much more clear I can make it than this. Let's keep it going. It's not even done yet.
Tell them already, we have to tell them again. Them a murderer. Them a murderer.
Yeah, we're going into flu season, which means, by the way, people should be looking to get their flu shots.
Obama pushing flu shots.
It's a long list, about 36 vaccinations before kindergarten. But doctors, the Centers for Disease Control, and the American Academy of Pediatrics say they're all necessary.
Psycho.
I think, without question, the vaccinating of pregnant women, which they say they should be vaccinated during any stage of their pregnancy, is the most absolute, insane, anti-scientific, unsupportable idea anyone could have come up with.
That's from a very, very credible neurosurgeon named Russell Blaylock, and he said that's absolutely insane and non-scientific. And that's what this is all about, folks.
You know that you are being run by people who are insane, and you don't know.
Right. Get your damn vaccine.
It's like, how can these people call themselves physicians, pediatricians, that have supposedly gone to medical school and 3 years of residency and are supposed to be experts in the developmental health of the immune system, the brain, the neurological system, and every single part of that little bitty infant, but yet it's okay in their brain to go in and jab them full of a bunch of chemicals when they're only 60 days old?
So after looking at all this and spending just about every night for the past year and a half, 2 years, reading about vaccines, I've come to the determination that we need to be doubting the safety and effectiveness of all of the vaccines at this point.
That's a very credible and a real MD doctor and a very highly touted doctor named Dr. Suzanne Humphreys. She says we need to be doubting the safety and effectiveness of all of them. And I will tell you, I'm not a doctor, folks, but I will tell you I've done loads of reading and research on this, and And I have no doubt that they're being used to poison and kill people. Nothing to do. They never cured anything or helped and avoid any disease or sickness ever.
I am absolutely appalled at how much people in this country do not think.
You gotta be a magician to keep a kid's attention more than 2 minutes nowadays.
Foghorn.
My government will ensure the security, good governance and development of the overseas territories.
Okay, so now I'm going to go into a segment about how the Ebola is being used also to advance the police state, which is of course another major agenda. These same people, you see the threads throughout all my shows. They're all. It's always and every one of these hoaxes and every one of these scams always has these components built into them. And it's always there. It's always there. It's always obvious to point out, and that's exactly what I do. But if I'm not making it clear enough for you, please let me know. But there's an abundance of proof, outright obvious proof that these people are psycho nefarious mass murderers, and people I guess are too busy playing with their iPhones to get a grasp on it. But I don't see how that could ever end well for anybody, and bad or good. None of us are included in this, except for this is being. I think if people were sure as I am that this was going on, they wouldn't look at it so indifferently. Keep going. So the Queen is now she's ensuring the security of the overseas territories.
My government will ensure the security, good governance and development of the overseas territories.
To the Queen.
Did you ever hear that story about why they put bars on a tiger's cage?
To protect the tiger from the people.
Folks can get out of hand pretty fast if they think there's going to be a plague.
That's that's what this thing's all about. There's they're gonna make it sound like we need to lock you down because you can't be trusted when we tell you there's a plague. So it's just twisted. That's how this works. Okay, and I got loads of clips that are gonna prove that out to you too. Let's keep it rolling.
I witnessed the horror that this disease visits upon its victims. This is not simply a matter of providing humanitarian aid. It is very much a national security concern.
It's a national security concern, and I know it's a long show, folks. Bear with me. We're well past the midway point. I wouldn't say we're down the back stretch yet, but we're maybe on the headed towards the third turn. But I'm going to show you how they're going to tie Ebola into national security concern, and that means we need to lock you down further, advance the police state further, and these convoluted ways of how they tie it together is just ridiculous. But people, like I said, I mean, I guess I'm the only one who notices it, or I hope not. And I don't want to. I'm not trying to act like I have some superior vision or something like that. But I am spending the time to look through it, and I'm trying to present it to you, even though it's a long show in 3 hours. It took me 100 hours to put it together, so you're getting a condensed version. Keep it going.
National security concern.
Yes.
We start tonight with breaking news on Ebola. Just moments ago in a show of force from the White House, top officials charged with health and national security issues said they've made this a national priority.
For the time being, we will use him as a litter bearer.
As the president has said, we are not facing just a health crisis. We are facing a national security priority.
With Ebola now spiraling beyond a health crisis and into a global security threat, President Obama said the United States must do more.
Ebola is now an epidemic of the likes that we have not seen before.
And so the administration announced today Operation United Assistance, sending 3,000 troops, including medical, engineering, and security forces.
There you go, and that's global security threat. Be very scared, and then Obama's down with the program, spewing out his garbage. If it wasn't him, it'd be somebody else. Here we go. It's a national security concern. We need troops in Africa, and then we need to lock you down here too.
This fight against Ebola, which as of today became a military matter. As we said, up to 3,000 American military personnel will be deployed into this hot zone in Africa at a starting cost of $600 million. All of it to combat an outbreak the World Health Organization called today, quote, unparalleled in modern times.
It's a hot zone in Africa.
There's only one reason you send in armed troops anywhere. I don't care if they want to do the Orwellian con game of double thing. They're not killers, they're peacekeepers.
Exactly.
That's what soldiers turned into, peacekeeping, you know.
Oh yeah, they can help us. They're saving us.
Get me the president. We'll recommend that he instruct SAC to send a plane. Find out what size weapon it should carry to burn out the infected area.
Okay, that was from the movie The Crazies, where he said we need to call the president and tell him to bomb the infected Ebola area. So that's like, in order to keep us all safe, we're going to need to bomb them. And that's not too far from where we're at here either.
Here population is growing. So these 2 billions will in the next decades increase to 3 billion.
This guy's a total psycho also. He's Gates introduced him like, he's my buddy. Here you go, Hans Gorling. He's a total psychopath. And he's going to talk about you'll see.
Here population is growing. So these 2 billions will in the next decades increase to 3 billions, and then will thereafter increase to 4 billion. There is nothing but the nuclear war of a kind we've never seen that can stop this from happening.
So we need a nuclear war to reduce population. That's what he's saying. Isn't that nice? The same psycho Nazi Gorling.
You got to get the president on the phone. We've got to get a nuclear weapon in the air above that town.
Isn't that a little drastic?
None of us wants to have to resort to that, but we've got to be ready.
Okay, that was in The Crazies again, where he was like, we need a nuclear weapon to nuke the town that had the Ebola, or the virus, so to speak. That's a more predictive program and just psycho stuff. And people are like, yeah, that's what we need to do, I guess.
There's no place that's more than a couple of air flights away. And the transmission of this disease, obviously, directly threats all our populations.
Yeah, there you go.
I think you're a constitutional liar.
First of all flights from West Africa should immediately be discontinued to the USA. And Europe should do the same thing. Now, I feel sorry for the West African nations, but there's an epidemic of Ebola there.
O'Reilly is just a disgusting scumbag, and he's going to tell you he acts like he's not propagating disgusting racial nonsense as well, and he's like, yeah, they have Ebola. We got to, we should ban them all from that, and people are gonna, buy into that. Unfortunately.
Can we go any lower? Strictly discouraged. Might lead to contact with the savages.
How can they live like this?
When the Uganda epidemic...
That was a clip from Brave New World, by the way, and you want to have contact with the savages.
When the Uganda epidemic, they had the Ugandan military there with helicopters to snatch anybody who might have the virus and bring them back into quarantine. There was command and control. They knew what they were doing.
Helicopters to snatch people with the virus in Uganda. That's what Fox is telling you happened. Again, and then you got the helicopter in Brave New World with the contact of the savages. This is just, it's all out there.
Last week I raised questions. I asked the administrator of the FAA what steps they're taking, and in particular, why they have not stopped commercial air travel from nations that are stricken with widespread outbreaks of Ebola.
Right.
The CDC is estimating that there could be upwards of 1 million people afflicted with this terrible virus by January of next year. And Our priority should be protecting the American people.
That's that psycho slime bag Ted Cruz, and he's also telling you there's going to be 1 million people have it, so we're going to nuke. He'll be the one saying we should nuke them then, like from the movie The Crazies. In the meantime, he wants to ban them all also. Again, telling everybody, all the lovely people at Fox, that's what his idea is.
The world as we know it will stop. There'll be no...
Here's Mr. Dr. Larry Brilliant again. He's brilliant. That's his real name, too. Dr. Larry Brilliant.
The world as we know it will stop. There'll be no airplanes flying. Would you get in an airplane with 250 people you didn't know coughing and sneezing when you knew that some of them might carry a disease that could kill you?
Psycho.
All right, Ann. Travel ban, yes or no?
Yeah.
It's that freak lady Ann called it. She's like, yeah.
Why not just stop letting people from Africa fly to here?
Okay, if you think I was picking on Fox News, there's your lefty Jon Stewart from The Daily Show saying, why not stop people from flying from Africa? So like I said, folks, it's not a right or left thing. They're both, believe me, both sides are pumping the same thing. I got Sharpton and Rachel Maddow and Daily Show host Jon Stewart all saying the same things, just in different spins, as the psychopaths on Fox are saying. They're all psychopaths. It's just some people like where I'm from. Some people like the Birkenstock granola spin over the racist right wing spin. But I promise you, the lefties have just as much a racist and disgusting spin. They're more of a Nazi, just racist spin than the righties have a right wing Stalinist spin. Keep going.
Why not just stop letting people from Africa fly to here?
I don't have a philosophical objection necessarily to a travel ban if that is the thing that is going to keep the American people safe.
As Obama saying, I don't have a problem with the travel ban either. So, like I said, folks, it's on both sides. It's just spinning it different ways. It's obvious. And we're travel ban on something because they might have a disease that doesn't exist. By the way, again, this is just twisted. Okay, and this is what you get.
U.S. immigration should allow no one to enter this country holding a passport from any West African nation.
That's nice.
Anyone obviously infected or resisting is to be treated as an enemy, with the ultimate objective to bring them in at any cost. Yes, sir.
Okay, that was from The Crazies. He said anybody who's obviously infected, like I'm not sure what obviously means. That's not a very scientific terminology for to know if somebody's infected. I mean, they're obvious. Oh, it's obvious. I'm not sure what that means. And he said they'd be treated as the enemy. And you think that sounds over the top? So then I'm like watching Fox, gathering my data, and then they pretty much said the same thing. This is only like a few weeks ago. Here we go.
Look, anytime in the military, if you're dealing with an enemy that, the tactical task could be to cordon that enemy, isolate, contain them, secure, cut them off. When you look at something such as a virus, we talk about quarantine.
Okay, so he said the people with the virus are the enemy. Then that was the guy who's supposedly a colonel from the Army on talking on Fox. And for whatever it's worth, the black guy saying this stuff. So this is just all twisted. Here's David Cameron, the Prime Minister of the UK.
Airlines will have to comply with our no-fly list arrangements, give us information on passenger lists, and comply with our security screening requirements. If they do not do this, their flights will not be able to land in Britain. But the intelligence agencies and the police believe they need stronger powers to impose further restrictions.
And Cameron calling for increased powers of the intelligence and securities agencies, which is, like I said, that's called advancement of the police state. It's no milder here. It's the same.
If we could find it early and we had early detection and early response, and we could put each one of those viruses in jail.
That's Dr. Larry Brilliant. He said if we can put the viruses in jail. What kind of metaphoric nonsense is that? Okay, and again, this guy has no credibility. I don't know what kind of doctor he is anyway. This guy's just another propagandist scumbag, and he's like, we need to put the viruses in jail. Like so. I guess that's metaphorically comparing people as are the viruses, because it's personifying the virus and putting them in jail.
Find it early, and we had early detection and early response, and we could put each one of those viruses in jail. That's the only way to deal with something like a pandemic.
Only way to deal with the pandemic is to put a virus in jail. You see, and that's what people took their time out to go watch him give a speech on this nonsense. This is so. I mean, so all I can only think is that nobody took their time out of, people were maybe paid to sit there and laugh at what he said and clap when he speaks. This is psycho stuff, folks. Couldn't believe it when I found that clip.
And you believe this rubbish. Do you know you do? You believe this tripe.
This tripe.
Hi, I'm Bill O'Reilly. Thanks for watching us tonight. Ebola and race, that is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo.
There you go, the Ebola and race, just like that's the subject of it. He's going to tie them together for you. Thanks, Bill. Ebola and race. And you're like, oh, Max, you're overreacting with the race. No, I'm not. They're like, you're cramming. It's as obvious can be. And believe me, it's coming at you from both sides. Like I said, it's not just the psychos at Fox. It's all of them. And Obama's part of it too. Obama's like talking about the travel ban also, and then he's basically in just a different spin, propagating the same racist undertones as the more explicit psychos for idiots on Fox.
It's a police action. What are your orders? Round up everybody. Take them to the high school.
From the crazies, round up everybody.
I just think that for this specific disease, we should have a special facility with specially trained people who know exactly how to deal with this in each city.
FEMA camp.
All the citizens are being rounded up. We've got to get them together in a central area. That'll solve the communications problem and check any possible spread of the virus.
Telephone and telegraph are cut off.
Round them up, cut off the telephones and telegraphs and communications, and that's on the crazies. And again, then I'm going to go right back to what's so-called news.
I think they should set up special centers for just Ebola in each state.
There you go. That's on Fox. That's some expert of theirs.
Nobody can talk to me and talk me out of that shelters are worth it, because I know they are. We're saving lives.
Saving lives. That's a doublespeak.
Increasing those police departments in California and New York City, increasing the police departments. They have to get enough police to handle the minority when they begin to round them up.
That was Mae Brussels from years ago. She said they're going to increase the police so they can round up the minorities.
It's now been established that 3 black nations in Africa, Sierra Leone, Guinea, and Liberia, are ground zero for the spread of the deadly disease.
Right, and he's calling them black nations, like in Africa. Like, oh, thanks, O'Reilly. He's just planting that seed, so you can blame it on the blacks. There you go, the dirty monkey and bat and camel eating black people.
Okay, listen up. All right. Town is in a quarantine. We have you all under martial law. We'll take you all over to the high school. We'll explain it to you over there.
Explain it to you later. That was from that movie, The Crazies. Again, this is all about a virus.
What is it, Doc?
Well, I'll tell you, we got trouble here.
The CDC guidance outlines the need for what is called controlled movement.
Okay, the CDC guidance manual has outlined something called controlled movement. That was right from the another news show. That was from the New York Times, a New York Times video I found. CDC is controlling. It's about command and control.
In the CDC, look, I love them in terms of what they're supposed to do. They're good at disease surveillance. They're good at studying disease. They're not command and control.
This guy, Fox, is like, they're not good enough at command and control. We need like some special Ebola black command task force. And no. Okay. Well, Obama's going to tell us what we need here, so keep it going. He's not there yet, but he's going to tell you, he's going to tell you what we need is special Ebola.
Matt, this
This may seem like an extreme measure, but I think that you ought to lock Dodge up tight. Don't let anybody in or anybody leave. You think it's that bad?
Okay, so on Gunsmoke, he was like, they had a virus over there, and he was like, I think you need to lock Dodge up tight. And Matt's like, really?
No hospital or CDC is going to allow you to leave if you're not Ebola clear.
To lock them up.
Listen to me now. What I'm about to say, I do not say lightly. The heads must be severed. The bodies burned. Destroyed.
You need to sever their heads and burn their bodies and destroy them.
Haul that trash and garbage out of here and burn it, fast!
What's garbage got to do with someone being sick?
Don't ask questions, just do as you're told.
Yes,
Shut up, slave.
Mr. Bascom! Get back into the house.
Put that fool thing away. Both know you won't use it.
What's the shooting for? Dr. Sam!
Don't come any closer, Festus. Back into the house, Mr. Bascom.
Shut up, slave.
Haul that trash and garbage out of here and burn it, fast!
What's garbage got to do with someone being sick?
Don't ask questions, just do as you're told.
Yes,
Shut up, slave.
Exactly.
An Ebola response team.
We want a rapid response team, a SWAT team, to be on the ground as quickly as possible.
Okay, so there you go. That's so we don't want a the CDC can't handle command and control. So Obama says we need an Ebola rapid response SWAT team for you, the Ebola SWAT team. There you go.
This man is obviously a psychotic.
If you don't want to hear that, if you don't want to hear him again, he said we need a rapid response Ebola SWAT team.
Response team.
We want a rapid response team, a SWAT team, to be on the ground as quickly as possible.
This man is obviously a psychotic.
Are we under martial law?
Yes, sir.
We have here at home the rise of a domestic police state.
And they're very big on keeping control. Nothing is left to chance. And I mean nothing is left to chance.
I want every damn civilian weapon in the entire perimeter. Do you understand? Right away.
Okay, the guy on in the Crazies, he said, go start taking everybody's all their weapons away, which is something that you saw in Katrina and something that you always see talked about throughout the news, and wherever you stand on guns, they're going to use Ebola as an excuse to take your guns away too, which is just another way to divide people and create distrust and hysteria.
Your doctor thinks he's going to quarantine us.
Well, I don't see what else he can do under the circumstances.
That's far enough right there. Wind up again. Now get back up there. Now, who the devil do you think you are? My name's Matt Dillon. I'm United States Marshal. I'm sorry, but you and your party are going to have to stay in the car. And if I refuse? Well, you're under official quarantine. I'll have to keep you in there with or without your cooperation.
Shut up, slave.
Once Ebola starts spreading around the country, chaos will follow. Therefore, West Africans should not be admitted to the USA until the epidemic is controlled.
O'Reilly?
We do know that if we can keep people from moving around, we just might stop it from spreading. Well, I'll close the roads.
Stop people from moving around. Close the roads. Another excuse for that, for a fake disease.
Yes, you're living in a police state. Your government is evil.
Seize him! Seize him! Seize him!
Oh, seize this, Honkus.
No! Don't ever say that to the cops! Seize him!
All the different professors' reports from departments of sociology and anthropology and psychology and behaviorism and neuroscience, and all these guys that were getting massive grants and always had done from the government, massive departments, all working towards something to do with total control of all of you.
Get back! Police activity!
I just want to go on record.
I do not think that this is a good idea.
A monster just tried to murder us. There are no records.
I want it officially on record that I am strongly opposed to this mission. What record?
She's like, what record? There's no records of this.
I've been through this before about adaptation, this Darwinian process of humanity, how we adapt to things we shouldn't adapt to, actually, especially when it's false, you see, but it's for control purposes. And the elite have always known this down through the ages, because even in ancient Rome, there's a fascinating study of ancient Rome, because the emperors would often be deposed, and coups would take place, generals would step in to become the major domo, and they'd stage many events to happen to get the public to cry for government and more governmental power to keep them safe. And that's what we hear all the time now. In fact, everything is about keeping you safe, supposedly, as you become broker and broker, and you're adapting to it all, thinking it's all quite normal.
There you have it.
There are two key areas where we now need to strengthen our powers to fill specific gaps in our armoury. These are around preventing suspects from travelling and dealing decisively with those already here who pose a risk. Mr. Speaker, passports are not an automatic right. The Home Secretary already has the discretion to issue, revoke and refuse passports under the royal prerogative, but when police suspect a traveller at the border, they're not currently able to apply for the royal prerogative and so only have limited stop and search powers. So we will introduce specific and targeted legislation to fill this gap by providing the police with a temporary power to seize a passport at the border, during which time they'll be able to investigate the individual concerned.
We need more police powers.
Legislation will be brought forward to introduce new powers to tackle antisocial behaviour, cut crime, and further reform the police.
To the Queen.
Nice boy, but he's got more nerve than a bum tooth.
I'm enjoying this show, folks. And you know what? We are now getting down the back stretch of the show. Let me just carry it on from there, just in case you're getting a little bit, you might have to stop it and start it again. I mean, I do the show straight through. It's looking like it's going to be over 3 hours. Not too much more than 3 hours, but we got a police state advancing, and we're using Ebola again, not only to get people to take vaccines, but to kill them and cull the population, and also and to fearmonger you into a state of chaos. But then we're going to move in the clamp to police state down on you, because that's what you get.
We see the emergence within the Western European countries, particularly the United States, Canada, Britain, Australia. We see the emergence of a police state apparatus.
Archie's team focuses on contact tracing, which locates sick people and tries to find out who came in contact with them and may also have been infected, so they can be monitored as well.
Got to monitor you all because you have fake Ebola.
What we are able to do, however, is to do what's called contact tracing.
It's an excuse to eviscerate more, like you have any rights left anyway, but keep going. These people are sick, okay? It's happening right in front of your face, and it can be, this is not something that's happening. I mean, they're maneuvering behind the scenes, but the people who are their point men are in your face every day. Obama and O'Reilly and Cameron and Jon Stewart and Rachel Maddow and all these other people. So don't tell me you didn't know. I didn't tell you so, because it's right here. Okay, when they lock you down.
What we are able to do, however, is to do what's called contact tracing, so that anybody who may have had contact with someone, even if it was incidental contact, even if they weren't showing symptoms, being able to identify who those individuals are and make sure that they are then being monitored. And that's currently taking place in a very aggressive process conducted by the CDC, HHS, and the rest of our teams.
This communication is being monitored. The connection has been broken for reasons of national security. You will be briefed at the appropriate time.
Okay, that's the Andromeda Strain, another movie about a virus, and they're monitoring your communications as well.
The health department has a team of disease detectives.
That's de Blasio telling us we have a team of disease detectives. Interesting, disease detectives. Thanks. That they're gonna check you and monitor you as well. That's our wonderful new mayor. He's not a totalitarian Nazi. Nah.
The health department has a team of disease detectives who have been at work tracing all of the patient's contacts, and we are prepared to quarantine contacts as necessary.
These people will not hesitate to do whatever it takes to maintain their power, their control, and their wealth. They want one world, totalitarian, socialist government. They want only two classes of people, the rulers and the ruled. For those of you who keep hiding in the closet because you're afraid you're going to get on somebody's list, let me set you straight right now. There's only one list, and you're already on it. You see, if you're not one of them, you're one of us. And if you're one of us, you're on the list.
Yeah, they're already tracking you, and you're already being. And well, here's what Obama's saying. He's going to tell you right now. He's going to say even if you're not on, even if you don't have Ebola, which you couldn't anyway. But I'm saying hypothetically, he said we'll still track you.
But if they're not showing any signs, we still want to have their information, where they live, where they're staying, multiple contact information that not only the federal government keeps, but that will also be forwarded to the state where they reside.
He said, even if you don't have it, so that means okay. That means just okay. You know what? That means everybody.
But if they're not showing any signs, we still want to have their information, where they live, where they're staying, multiple contact information that not only the federal government keeps, but that will also be forwarded to the state where they reside.
Okay, and if you're on that list, here's a little clip from The Strain.
Are you going to murder everyone on that list of yours?
Yes.
The United States is a police state that masquerades as a democracy.
When your controller beckons, we all have to jump.
Figured it out. Go back to bed, America. Your government has figured out how it all transpired. Go back to bed, America. Your government is in control again.
In your own local community, you have to be very, very careful now, because people are going to come in and infiltrate, and it's a three-pronged purpose. You can get rid of particular people that you want at the same time, you confuse the motives, and you accomplish the fear, which then requires more control on the part of the police.
It was Mae Brussel. She said, she's like, they set it up so we'll create more fear, and then then you're gonna be begging for more police.
Batman and Robin are fully deputized agents of the law. Support your police. That's our message.
Well said, Robin.
This whole thing was a setup, man.
Oh yeah.
What we're also fighting is an ideological strain of extremism that has taken root.
Okay, and we're coming down. This is I think this is the final segment, more or less, of the show. It's been a long one. It's been, I think, a very informative one. I'm going to tie together now what the overall picture is about global, how this is all being brought to us by the global government criminals. And I'm even going to throw in there, you've heard me say Nazi a few times in this show. And you know what, folks? Let's call a spade a spade. There's blatant evidence suggests that these people are tied in with the same... And when I say the Nazis, because these people are the Nazis, okay? The people in Germany are not the Nazis. They were being controlled by these same people who are the Nazis. Are there some German people involved with these same people? I'm sure there are. There obviously are. But you can see how I'm gonna tie that in there too, as we get through the end of the show. Again, Ebola is going to be now connected to the world government. They're going to say that Ebola and world government has a tie-in, and you can hear them say it, not me. So keep it going. I got Biden saying that over and over. Keep it going.
What we're also fighting is an ideological strain of extremism that has taken root.
I remind you that before the Nazis began to persecute and incarcerate and kill and so forth the Jewish people in Germany, the first thing they did was label them as extremists and fanatics and all these kind of things and get the people conditioned against them. And then with the approbation of the general populace, they were able to unleash the fury of the state against them, and we all, of course, know what happened as a result of that.
This is what they thrive on. Fear, panic, divisiveness. There's strength in numbers. We must make a plan and act together.
Ebola doesn't distinguish its victims by the passports they hold. The virus will strike whether you're an American, Liberian, Mexican, or Canadian. It's an equal opportunity victimizer.
Bring in some infected children from Honduras and put them in your daughter's school. That makes sense. I mean, if you're a good liberal, what you do is you reach out to the poor of the world and you bring them into your schools. That's the liberal way.
I heard the same words we have heard today. But I was a fool then. I thought Nazis were crazy people, stupid fanatics. But unfortunately, it was not so. You see, they knew that they were not strong enough to conquer a unified country. So they split Germany into small groups. They used prejudice as a practical weapon to cripple the nation. Of course, that was not easy to do. They had to work hard to do it. You see, we human beings are not born with prejudices. Always they are made for us, made by someone who wants something. Remember that when you hear this kind of talk. Somebody is going to get something out of it, and it isn't going to be you. This is not classroom theory. I saw it happen.
I have Scotch-Irish skin.
The Bush family, for example, showing its connection to the Nazis in Germany, and the banking connection where they funded the rise of Adolf Hitler.
We can have a much more just world with green technology and with investments to alleviate poverty and global governance. The world can become like this.
This is the way I see the whole thing. Nelson and David Rockefeller, of course, at the top of that triangle, the power control group and the Chase Manhattan Bank, were instrumental, along with a lot of other people, in rearming Germany financially and psychologically, putting Hitler into power and promoting this anti-Semitic talk and the doctrines that Hitler used, and protecting Hitler and their agents when the war was over by not telling half of what the Nazis did while they were in action with their experiments. The Dulles lawyers, Allen Dulles, the lawyer, but John Foster Dulles, the Secretary of State, imported these Nazis into this country. Rockefeller, with the Council of Foreign Relations, do not wear armbands. They don't goose step, but they can finance through the government or otherwise their Fensterwalds and Colsons and Hunts and Liddies and Robert Mardian and the Nazis that are in or out of government.
Yeah, what's wrong?
Well, it's just that I'm engaging one of the Beta Plus decanters tonight, Adolf Rockefeller.
There also exists an extraordinary opportunity to form for the first time in history a truly global society.
Yeah, and for the record, that was Brave New World, where she's got a date with the character in the book or the movie, Adolf Rockefeller.
And in a globalized world, threats as diverse as terror.
Oops, and that was Kissinger, by the way. Let me play that one again. He's talking about, now this is all, everybody's going to be like global governments, global security, and they're all going to be like, it's the greatest thing ever, and it's all, and they're all a bunch of psychos, okay? And you'll hear. Here we go.
There also exists an extraordinary opportunity to form for the first time in history a truly global society.
And in a globalized world, threats as diverse as terrorism and pandemic disease cross borders at blinding speeds.
Okay, so Biden is tying in global government with terrorism and pandemic Ebola diseases. Please take note. Please take note.
And in a globalized world, threats as diverse as terrorism and pandemic disease cross borders at blinding speeds. The sheer rapidity and magnitude, the interconnectedness of the major global challenges demand a response, a different response, a global response.
You know that you are being run by people who are insane and you don't know.
We need global governance.
There are hundreds of truly global citizens in West Africa right now, including military medics, aid volunteers, and healthcare workers from all over the world, including the United States.
This is a global problem.
This man is obviously a psychotic.
Mitsubishi Tanabe Pharma. As a global, research-driven company, our goal is to create innovative, new solutions to address the unmet medical needs of patients worldwide.
Mitsubishi Tanabe Global Pharma. Carrying on.
I would say globalization is such a mega trend.
Global governance and global agreements.
The goal should be to devise a system of global financial governance.
To global economic governance.
Globalization is no more only a topic for lectures and conferences. That's a reality. We need this. Globalization is no more only a topic for lectures and conferences. That's a reality. We need this.
Take Ebola, a horrific disease that is now a genuine global health emergency. Our Center for Disease Control, USAID, and our military have taken charge of the world epidemic.
I think we're being run by maniacs for maniacal ends, you know.
There is a pervasive unease in our world. A sense that the very forces that have brought us together have created new dangers and made it difficult for any single nation to insulate itself from global forces.
That was very quite a little zinger in there, and that was Obama on his most recent United Nations speech this year in September. He said the same people who are bringing us about this stuff are trying to that there's other countries that are trying to insulate themselves from the global forces, which is the New World Order, global government cabal that I've spoken of before. Let's play that one more time and we'll keep going.
There is a pervasive unease in our world. A sense that the very forces that have brought us together have created new dangers and made it difficult for any single nation to insulate itself from global forces.
We face a hostile ideology, global in scope, atheistic in character, ruthless in purpose, and insidious in method.
Eisenhower warning us about this same global government cabal.
For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy.
JFK months later saying the same thing, that there's a global ruthless conspiracy around the world that we're opposed by.
Shut up, conspiracy theorist.
Exactly.
For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy.
JFK is a conspiracy theorist.
Shut up, conspiracy theorist.
When society was reformed, there were still factions who refused to be part of the world government. These fringe groups now inhabit the reservation, clinging to the borders of civilized society at the edges of the great wilderness. While we have advanced, these savages retain their primitive way of life.
From Brave New World.
The president rallied the world of the United Nations last week, mobilizing countries from all around the world to act quickly. We're deploying over 3,000 American soldiers to West Africa to support regional civilian responses.
I think they're all insane.
It is so obvious that our only way of dealing with these new diseases is to find them early and to kill them before they spread. So my TED wish is for you to help build a global system, an early warning system, to protect us against humanity's worst nightmares.
Dr. Larry Twisted, Dr. Larry Brilliant, and again, a lot of metaphors in there. You can just figure that one out for yourself. This guy's a psycho. and disgusting person.
Another social illusion, social engineering project to change the minds and the attitudes and the beliefs of the people of the world, and especially the United States, to bring about one world socialist totalitarian government.
A few of us making decisions on a global basis for the common good.
Cecil, I swear to Goddess.
I know, Tiffy, but please try to focus on the greater good.
It is Washington's obligation under the Constitution to provide for the common good.
Germany supports the United Nations as the beating heart of a global order.
Believing as I do that this thing was a setup job, this is a textbook operation that Nazis used, and they've used it over and over again. America has been suckered in one more time.
There's an old saying, it's fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
There's an old saying in Tennessee, I know it's in Texas, probably in Tennessee, that says, fool me once, shame on you. If fool me, we can't get fooled again.
Yeah, Bush couldn't remember the saying.
Never forget when you've been taken for a sucker and then you do it again. Never, ever forget being taken for a sucker. And no matter how much fear and terror is pumped out there, don't fall for the same con again.
An obvious hoax.
Con after con after con, and you get caught up in it.
You know, Fitch, there's one thing I don't like. You know what it is?
Sure, Blackie, sure. Somebody trying to put something over on you.
I never liked it.
All right, and I'm towards the end of the show. Thanks once again for coming aboard. This has been the Max Ratt Deconstruction Zone, and show's called Ebola. Excuse me, it's called Ebola, a Disease Deception. And, okay, so let's just go through it real fast. They talked about how they're fear-mongering. First, we started with the fear-mongering. Oh, Ebola's going to get you, and you're going to die, and all these, and your organs are going to liquefy, and all this nonsense. And then I told you about how there's even an underlying thing tied into religion with the plagues from the Bible. That's used. That helps give lend credibility that God created a disease that's so terrible. Then we go into this racist garbage about how all the diseases always start in Africa or in camels in the Middle East, wherever they're trying to pick on or trying to rob or trying to kill. They'll say, well, they're the source of this evil. That's to justify going in there and stealing all this stuff and killing them all. And people are like, yeah, that's the right thing to do. Then we go into the vaccine. Then they say, well, now we need, in order to eradicate a fake disease, we're going to need a vaccine, which is just another way to get into your bloodstream and poison you and exterminate Africans and Asians and all kinds of people, and include injure and exterminate people of the United States as well. Don't kid yourself. And Europe. Then we went into then they will also use Ebola as an excuse for an advancement of the police state, and winding up with all that is for because there's a global government, criminals operating behind the scenes who are orchestrating this whole thing, and that's as plain can be as well. So it's been a long show. Thank you for coming aboard once again. I got a bunch of clips on the way out, but I think I'm gonna sign off to you right now. I'm Max Ratt. This has been an Ebola show. I hope you learned something or got something out of this show. Thanks for coming aboard once again. And I'm Max Ratt, over and out. I'm playing a bunch of clips on the end. Don't get fooled again. Keep it going, and thanks for coming aboard once again. All the best to you all.
You know, Fitch, there's one thing I don't like. You know what it is?
Sure, Blackie, sure. Somebody trying to put something over on you.
I never liked it.
The public will shortly be unable to think or reason for themselves. It was meaning by that the form of information that was given to them, the type, the formulas that were in use then in the 1970s. He says eventually they'll be unable to think or reason for themselves. And eventually, he said, they will expect the media to do all their thinking and reasoning for them. Well, that's happened today. That's why people today can't think outside of the programming from television.
And I just liked him because everyone else liked him. I need to start thinking for myself.
Perhaps the answer is that they simply could not believe it was really happening. Maybe the normal human mind is just not wired to accept that your fellow man is capable of such senseless brutality on such a scale, even when you see it happening with your own eyes.
The fundamentally decent American mind has been blinded to the fact that any group of men can be so evil and so completely devoid of all conscience.
They live in virtual reality, an artificial world. They have no idea what's true, what's false. They're propagandized by the media. Not too many of them get any alternative information. It's just the way it is.
Sheeple is what they are. They are following the Judas goat right into the shearing pins, and from there they will go to the slaughter, and they will not know that anything is wrong until they smell the blood of the sheeple in front of them.
What a bunch of dumbasses.
A fine job, Batman. You allayed their fears magnificently.
What else could I have done, Commissioner? If I told the truth, panic would grip the city.
He who lives with untruth lives in spiritual slavery. Freedom is still the bonus we receive for knowing the truth. Ye shall know the truth, says Jesus, and the truth shall set you free.
I think it's too late. It is never too late to do the right thing.
There's something deep inside. There's a part that they can't get to, and it's deep inside of us, and that's where the truth is. That's our only hope. That's what you and me need to tap into, and that's what you and I are going to use to take them out.
When I speak of love, I'm not speaking of some sentimental and weak response. I am speaking of that force which all of the great religions have seen as the supreme unifying principle of life. Love is somehow the key that unlocks the door which leads to ultimate reality. This Hindu, Muslim, Christian, Jewish, Buddhist belief about ultimate reality is beautifully summed up in the first epistle of John. Let us love one another, for God is love, and every one that loveth is born of God and knoweth God. He that loveth not knoweth not God, for God is love. If we love one another, God dwelleth in us, and his love is perfected in us.
If I don't come back, you tell Mother I love her.
Your mother's dead, Llewellyn.
Well, then I'll tell her myself.
And now, Channel 1200 leaves the air until tomorrow morning. Our leader wishes you all a pleasant good night.
And you can always follow me on Twitter.
Batmobile over and out.
Right.